for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena.
I assume that. No one kicked me out.
Are we short chairs?
Are we?
We won't be.
Bruce and I will do a co-MC.
You can be my co-MC.
Yeah, well, Caminega.
All right, who wants to volunteer their chair? We might be a couple of short up here. I'm kidding, it looks good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second Alberta Next Town Hall. My name is Bruce McAllister. I'm going to help do my best to moderate tonight and steer the conversation. As you see, we have the Premier here. We'll hear from the Premier shortly. We have an amazing panel here tonight, folks, and we've assembled some really cool people. They're giving their time, sharing their passion. They'll share some of their stories, but mostly we want to hear from you tonight. Firstly, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming. I wish we could have had a bigger venue. I think we were going to do it in Sherwood Park, and then we moved it. And anyway, nice to see so many of you here tonight. Remind you all, the panel is here to listen to you. We want to take what you have to say away. So many diverse perspectives among Albertans, even up here on the panel. There are people that are probably polar opposites on issues. But let's acknowledge, just before we get going, the last decade has been a tough one for Alberta when it comes to dealing with Ottawa. And it's funny, we brought that up last night, and a gentleman reminded us. He came to the mic and he said, Bruce, it's not just been the last decade. It's been like this for a long time. And many of you remember the National Energy Program and all of those things. So we're gonna address all of that tonight, ask for your opinion on all of those things tonight, some of the policies that are in place that hold us back right now in the province. And we're going to do our best to hear your concerns and comments. I'll explain later how the timing works and how you're going to be able to say your what you'd like to say. But just know, if you don't have a question and you just want to make a comment, that's okay too. So we're going to take those away as well. So we ask everyone to be respectful of one another, even if we might not always agree with each other. We can disagree. Let's just be respectful here tonight. So let me introduce you to our fine panel members, if I could. They are, like you, regular Albertans. Like you, they care very much for their province. There are a few elected members, but most from the private sector, and just Albertans giving back. So if you could join me in saying hello to our panel members. We're going to start with the Premier. Everybody knows Premier Danielle Smith on the panel. The Minister of Environment and Protected Areas, Rebecca Schultz, is with us tonight. I'll ask you all to stand and give a quick wave. Andrew Judson. Andrew brings 30 years in capital markets and private equity. He's vice chair of the Fraser Institute in the Prairies. Brandon Lunty, the MLA for Leduc-Beaumont. Dr. Trevor Toome from the University of Calgary, an economics professor, fiscal policy expert at the School of Public Policy. The Honourable Bruce MacDonald, former Alberta Court of Appeal Justice from 29 to 2023. Welcome, Bruce. MLA Glenn Van Dyken from Barhead, Morinville, Westlock. I'm sure we'll weigh him on the agriculture discussion tonight. Speaking of agriculture, Melody Garner Skiba is an experienced leader across ag, nonprofit sectors, former president of the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce as well. Sumita Aman, vice president of the Business Development of Above and Beyond, chair of the Premier's Council on Multiculturalism. Adam Legg is the president of the Business Council of Alberta. A couple of decades of experience in business leadership. Dr. Aiken Okaswati, family and ER doctor in Didsbury. What a great story he has. I'm sure he'll share it tonight. Grant Fagerheim is not with us, oil and gas expert. Michael Binion is, though, president of Quest Air Energy, key figure in the Canadian energy sector. Stephen Buffalo is chairman of the AIOC. He's president and CEO of the Indian Resource Council of Canada. Also told me in private that he runs a hotline for disgruntled Edmonton Oilers fans. He's the biggest. We'll put up his number later. Dr. Benny Zhu, a registered acupuncturist with over 30 years of experience leading many provincial projects. Did I get everybody? How about a hand for our panel? Guys, thanks for being here tonight. Oh, how about our latest MLA, Tara Sawyer from Old Didsbury Three Hills? Tara? I can't wait to ask Tara a question tonight. She's done a lot of door knocking lately. She was just sworn in this week. We'll have great context. Let's start with a word from our Premier, shall we? Premier, would you like to say good evening?
Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for being willing to moderate tonight. You did a terrific job last night, and I do want to thank all of our panelists for being here and to you for participating in this important process as we go across the province to engage with Albertans. I see also that the MLA for the area, Nate Glubish, is here as well. Nice to see you, Nate. Thank you for being here. And I think we initially wanted this to be in Strathcona County proper. I hope many of you are from Strathcona County as well, because we know that this region is an absolute powerhouse within our provincial economy for its agriculture, its connection to Alberta's industrial heartland, and for the oil refineries that are situated here. These are some of our most important industries, and this is one of the most prosperous parts of Alberta. And I want to thank you all for coming out to share your thoughts with us today and for choosing to participate in this crucial engagement process. The conversations that we have tonight and throughout the Alberta Next engagement period will help to shape the future of our province. And I think it would encourage you, if you go and look at the last time we did this kinds of consultation with the Fair Deal panel, they came up with 25 recommendations that has guided an awful lot of our work over the last 5 years. For instance, we had the Equalization referendum. That was a recommendation that came out of that panel. The panel wanted us to reduce internal trade barriers. We've done that across the country. We wanted us to create economic corridors. We've signed many economic corridors agreements. They wanted us to challenge federal legislation in our areas of jurisdiction. I think we've got about 15 lawsuits going in that regard. Establish a chief firearms officer, which we did. Create a presence in Ottawa. We now have an office in Ottawa representing us. Diversify our energy sector. We have done that in spades. Also relentlessly pursue more market access, which we have, as well as referenda and citizens-initiated referenda. All of those ideas came out of the Fair Deal panel. So I'm looking forward to see what will come out of this discussion. We do know that one of the reasons we have to do this again is because Alberta has an Ottawa problem. For the last 10 years, Ottawa, led, it must be said, by successive Liberal governments, has taken direct aim at Alberta's core industries. It's the truth. I'll tell you. Let me list them. I'll list them. Bill C-69, the tanker ban, the ban on the emissions cap, which acts as a production cap, the net zero mandates, on vehicles, the net zero mandates, on our electricity grid. In fact, in the last 10 years alone, more than $500 billion in global investment has disappeared from our resource sector, costing us hundreds of thousands of jobs, hundreds of billions in GDP, and resource royalties that would otherwise have gone to fund healthcare and education and public infrastructure. If Alberta is to be a strong and unified country, it has to include a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, able to pursue our own potential. And certainly without being held back by our own federal government. And that's why we've launched the Alberta Next panel, where your voice, your ideas, your values will help to shape Alberta's road ahead. And when the panel's finished its work, it will recommend which ideas should be put forward to the people of Alberta in a referendum vote in 2026. So regardless of what each of us believes about these issues or what path we think is best, we as Albertans have to be able to respectfully debate and discuss these issues here with our friends, with our family members, and with our neighbors. We managed to succeed in doing that last night, even though there was a range of views in the room. And I know that if we do that, in the end, our province will find the best solutions and the immense challenges that we face, and we will come out stronger and more free than ever. So I will always put my faith in Albertans to find that path. I trust Albertans, I trust you, and I look forward to hearing from you tonight.
I get the impression it's going to be a fun night tonight. So good. Listen, we can disagree and not be disagreeable. So I'm going to go over some things tonight, and I just hope that, you know, if you really are passionate and you want to make your point, just know we're going to make time for that, to come to the microphone and do it, and hopefully you'll do it respectfully. I do have to say, if you don't, you'll probably be asked to leave, and I don't want to see that, because I think everybody wants to be here. So here's what we're going to do. We have 6 short videos tonight on 6 topics, and not just these topics, but this is what we'll do. The topics we'll start with, so you know: equalization and transfers, an Alberta pension plan, provincial police force, constitutional changes, immigration reform, and provincial tax collection. This is an opportunity for you to present how you feel about those topics. And if there's one of those that you don't want to talk about, we're going to save 20 minutes, a half an hour at the end, and we'll allow you to come up and we'll speak to those. So really the goal is to hear how everybody feels about these issues. So we'll play a video, and then we're going to allow 15 minutes for discussion on each topic. And if your issue is not one of those, as I said, you can come up after. We'll have an open topic at the end. Feel free to line up at the mic while that video is playing if that's what you want to talk about. 45 seconds is what we've given for each comment, and I kind of look at it like a little bit like a basketball shot. You know, if the ball's in the air, it still counts. Look, if you're getting to the end of your question and that's obvious, nobody's going to cut you off tonight. But if it's obvious that there's another agenda, we're going to have to cut the mic. So we'll try and give you as much latitude as possible in the 45 seconds. Just please make sure that we hear from as many people as possible. Last night when we did this in Red Deer, it was great, by the way, but many people came up to each topic. And that's fine if everybody wants to talk to every topic, but I would just ask, if you're one of those people, maybe let the others that haven't got to talk speak before you come to everyone. I think that's fair. Is that reasonable? Okay. After the main event tonight, some of the panelists are going to stick around, because I know many of you may not want to come up to the microphone, but you might want to talk to somebody or say something. We'll stick around and hear what you have to say afterward for half an hour or so. I think Andrew Judson said he'd stay until midnight, so he's down on the far end. And I think that's about it. So look, let's have some fun, let's be Albertans, and let's have a conversation. Let's roll the first video on equalization and transfers.
Our next topic is reforming federal equalization and transfers. Since 2005, Alberta taxpayers have contributed, on average, $23 billion more per year to the federal government in federal taxes than they received back in projects, benefits, and other spending from Ottawa. That's a net loss to Albertans of nearly $500 billion in just 20 years. Most of those redistributed Alberta tax dollars are spent by Ottawa and Quebec and other liberal-leaning provinces across the country. And part of that massive fiscal transfer out of Alberta comes through the federal Equalization program, which has seen Alberta pay over $67 billion into the program since 1957, while receiving back not a single penny.
Okay, 2 microphones, one on this side and one on that side. And again, I reiterate, this is to hear from you tonight. So we'll put up a clock on the screen, 45 seconds or so. And sir, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, my name is Albert Beal. I'm from Strathcona Sherwood Park. I would like to see Alberta collect 100% of the taxes and then send to Ottawa what we think they deserve. Because right now we're at a $23 billion a year deficit. $1 billion per year would reduce our class sizes by 20%. That's just one of the $23 billion that we give every year. So I think we should be much more aggressive. Instead of us fighting Ottawa, we should take this responsibility, push forward, be aggressive, and make Ottawa sue us because we're taking their tax money. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert. Thank you, Albert. Let's go over here. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll just ask you, please, like Albert, say your name, tell me where you're from, and go ahead.
My name is Jonathan Terrell, independent farmer from born and raised in Alberta here. So I guess sort of piggybacking, this is going to be a common theme, I believe, but what is Alberta's plan to effectively convince Albertans that the deal that we're seeing here, what was presented, will be any better than sovereignty? I think that's weighing on a lot of people's minds, and some of the folks that have presented their cases, some budgets that have come out from some organizations, they're a lot more appealing than simply flipping the percentages around, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Jonathan, was it a question in that? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking for a response to that. Why would this be more appealing than a vote for sovereignty for Alberta?
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I guess I would say what the position of our government is that we support Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada, and that's what we're putting forward solutions for. And part of the rebalancing that we need to do is I get great stats from Professor Toom on every question, and I was saying, what would the country look like if we had the revenues aligned with our areas of responsibility? We would be collecting 70% of the taxes, and Ottawa would only be collecting 30%. And as you saw in the video, it's essentially reversed on that. So remember, if there's a lot of things that the federal government is responsible for. National defense is a growing and increasing percentage. We also have all of the international offices and economic missions that are that take place. The banking system. I mean, there's a lot of additional costs that I don't know has been costed out by that group that you would have to assume. And I feel like we should be able to get a better deal of the balance on those transfers. So I guess that's going to be up to everybody here to decide. But that's what we're aiming to do with this panel discussion.
Thanks for the question. I'll tell you what, it's a real balance to try and get to as many of you and not have our panel dominate. But for this one, Professor Toom, Trevor, do you want to add any context?
Well, maybe just context around equalization
Sure.
itself, topic of the video, and I'm sure there'll be some comments in the room on this. It's a program that's there to try and support provinces that have a hard time raising revenue on their own at average tax rates. And I think the concern is whether or not the program itself creates an incentive to perhaps have policies that might weaken provincial economies, so that there is an incentive built in, or in the case of Quebec, whether they charge lower electricity prices than they might otherwise. You know, if there was a 1 cent per kilowatt hour increase in electricity prices there, the equalization payment to that province would be about $1.5 billion lower than it is. And so there's always these adverse incentive problems in a program like equalization, and it's been 20 years since we've had a hard look at that program and how it's designed, and maybe it's time to do that again.
So good. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is John Nyberg, and actually I'm one of these weird, strange people. I was born and raised in Alberta, rural Alberta, living in urban areas now, West Edmonton, but you know, I apologize that I'm an Albertan. Actually, the question is, like, equalization should be equal. So why should Alberta subsidize other provincial social and infrastructure programs that seem to be better than Alberta's? Albertans are paying for policies and programs in other provinces that Albertans do not have or wish to pay for. And this is not Alberta doesn't have a social license for expensive progressive initiatives.
Yep.
And for example, why should we have to pay for somebody else's steak dinner when we're eating hamburger when we don't want to borrow money to pay for the meal?
Got it.
And Albertans try to keep their provincial debt down, yet other jurisdictions, as you mentioned, are running massive deficits that Alberta has to pay for through interest through the equalization programs.
Got it, John. Look, I know your point. Absolutely. And thanks. I think we just addressed it to a degree, but I squarely see where you're coming from. So next opinion, over here.
I propose, starting this fall, that Alberta collects 100% of the taxes and do it with or without working with other provinces. Can we make this happen this fall?
So interesting enough, we actually have provincial tax collection as one of the 6 topics. So you're going to want to come back to the mic when we talk about that one.
I'm talking about federal taxes. Collect 100% of the federal and the provincial this fall. So you're talking about taking a larger percentage. I'm saying
take them all.
Take it all this fall.
Gotcha.
Like, let's get this done. How many agree?
Gotcha. Go ahead, Premier, if you want to comment.
I think even in Quebec, where they do have their own provincial income tax collection, the federal government still directly collects its share. So even in Quebec, Ottawa has not acquiesced to having the province do that. And so what you would be asking is for every person in this room and every business to be out of compliance with the Federal Income Tax Act. And so that's part of the problem, is that unless we have an agreement with Ottawa to collect all of the taxes, all we have the jurisdiction to do is to collect our own share. But you'll see the video a little bit later, and we'll discuss whether or not that makes sense for us.
Absolutely. Over here.
Luke Scarabs from Strathcona County. I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to engage in discussion. We got a great panel, great host, so looking forward to the evening. The point that I want to make is around how do we implement this? So we're having discussion, dialogue on different ideas. And for me, when I think about this, we need to get our strategic advantage back. When I think about Alberta getting our fair share, there's some things we have to do to punch above our weight or punch out our weight. The two things that stand out to me, number one is getting more control of the finances, the funds, as some of the speakers before me have said. And the other one, as a proud Canadian, is having the referendum. Do we stay or do we go? And not to say which way we should go, but when you do that, you're going to get more leverage back. It's more bargaining power. What can we do to increase the bargaining power to get a better deal for Alberta? Thank you.
Yeah. So good. Luke, thank you. There was a lot there to chew on.
Bruce, I don't know if Michael wants to weigh in on this because he's, I think, in the previous panel discussion, talked about the ways in which Quebec has used its power to get more tax points and more opt-out with compensation. Can you talk a little bit about that, Michael?
Okay, I found natural gas in Quebec, and so I've had the privilege of spending quite a bit of time there, and I worked very closely with Lucien Bouchard and also with Jack Parizeau, who is a shareholder of mine, and so I spent a lot of time understanding how Quebecers look at this problem and how they've been able to exercise their political power so much more effectively than I think Alberta has. I will just say on the equalization itself, and one comment from Pauline Marois, also a former premier that I knew, is it is designed to allow provinces to have equal services, which in theory should mean they don't need to get the federal government involved in provincial issues because they can afford them. But it hasn't worked that way because the federal government still interferes in spite of that, even though we've paid so that they don't have to, they still do. And I will say Pauline Marois' direct quote was, "We should not develop our oil and gas until we're independent so that we don't have to give any of the equalization money back."
Excellent. Michael, thank you. Premier, you should know that I just tapped him, and that's where we were going next. But thank you. Over here, I think we've got a very young member that wants to comment.
I lived in Quebec for 20 years, and they absolutely waste our money like you would not believe. It's time to stop money to send those people and leave Canada as fast as possible. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Rapid fire. Over here.
Hi, my name is Steve Ricketts. I'm from the community formerly known as Sherwood Park.
Good day.
I will make a Treaty 6 acknowledgement. It was probably just an oversight on your part, Bruce.
Well, you can use your 45 seconds, sir, however you like.
So here's the thing, and the Premier started off making the comment about a prosperous Strathcona County. You know what? That's absolutely true. And as somebody who lives in Strathcona County, I'm only too happy to share my wealth, my taxes, with the portions of Alberta that are less well off. As a Canadian, I'm quite happy to use my taxes, my contributions to help other provinces that are less well off too. There are a lot of legitimate concerns being raised about our role in Canada, the number of MPs, number of senators. Those should be focused on. What dismays me is the language and the rhetoric being used by the Premier and others to inflame Albertans.
45's up. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome, Bruce.
Okay. Let's go over here.
If I may, Bruce, I think the conversation around equalization has really developed since our equalization referendum. Newfoundland and Labrador is one of the most indebted jurisdictions in Canada, and they are a net payer into Confederation with money going to Ontario and Quebec. They started a lawsuit saying that they should be able to get the equivalent amount of per capita transfers. BC joined in, as did Saskatchewan. So it's not just us saying that it's unreasonable for smaller jurisdictions to transfer to larger jurisdictions. It's those three jurisdictions as well.
That's it. Okay, over here.
Hi, my name is John. Obviously, I'm old and experienced. In brief, I've lived in about 7 different areas of Canada, spent more time in Alberta. Long story short, I can go on and on. But if you take the emotion out of the attachment to what I call Trudeau's Canada, not the Canada of 30 years ago, if you take that out and look at the math and the money we're spending well beyond transfer payments, I can go on and on, each taxpayer in this province every year sends tens of thousands of dollars back to the ungrateful provinces. So all I'm going to say is I am 100% for Wexit because I don't want to spend $10,000 every year to pay for somebody else. Thank you.
Okay, John, thank you. It's going to be interesting tonight. Like, we're going to do sort of a straw poll after a couple of the videos. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Go ahead, over here.
Tanner Hennig. My family has a farm. It's over 100 years old, and we're proud to be Canadian and we're proud to be Albertan, but Canadian comes first and Albertan comes second for us. My question on the equalization payments is the fact that I think last year the federal government gave the Alberta government $8.1 billion for social services to be used in healthcare, education, and other social services and assistance. My question is just in regards to what we pay for equalization, what's, I guess, like the end result of the federal government giving us funding for our projects here for energy, infrastructure, healthcare, education, everything else? Like, what's at the end of the day, what does it equal out to?
Thank you. And Mr. McDonald, could I throw it to you or Judge and say, there's some legal issues with all this as well. Did you want to give some context? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but you've been on it before, so. Well, it is now. It is now. There's a lot of people looking at you.
Refer to the professor here.
Okay.
Is Bailey.
Okay. Does anybody want to pick him up down there, Trevor, or Premier? I'm trying to give Premier a break.
Yeah, I'll just note that I forget the name. Sorry, that the speaker there is Tanner is correct. There's a lot of different types of federal transfers, and Alberta receives the Canada Health Transfer and the Canada Social Transfer. In recent years, also some stabilization fund payments as well. Equalization, though, is not something that any province itself pays. It's a federal budget line item, like where they get their office supplies from. It's funded from federal taxes that we pay on income and GST and so on. And so Alberta doesn't receive any there because we're the richest province with the strongest economy, and it is directed more towards those provinces with weaker economies. I think the real policy question for equalization is whether or not it is designed in a way that's responsive to some of the pressures that exist right now in Canada, or whether there are ways to improve upon some of the adverse incentives that are there.
Yes.
Not about it actually being a fiscal cost to the government of Alberta itself.
Right. Trevor, thank you. We got a couple minutes left on this one, and I promise we can come back to it at the end if you didn't get to say your piece. Over here.
Gerald Thomas, City of Leduc. First of all, I agree we need to work on an equalization formula to deduce more. But I'd like to remind everybody, geography and geology just happen to be luck that it's in Alberta. And we got to remember that. To bring the rest of the provinces along, we need to do something to attract them. You've got to remember, a lot of them, all of them have sales taxes. We don't.
Thank you. One more over here on this one.
Hi, thanks. My name's Brad LaFortune. I'm from Edmonton. I was born in Edmonton. I've been here for a lot of years. I went to Saskatchewan for a bit, but I am an Albertan, and I'm a Canadian. And I want to acknowledge that I'm on Treaty 6 territory, first and foremost. Thank you very much. This question is for Trevor and Daniel Smith as well. When I look at the stand-up costs for an Alberta Revenue Agency, I think it's been estimated at about $1.5 billion just to stand it up. And of course, year over year, there'd be operational costs associated with that. I'm wondering how we can justify that at a time when we're underfunding public education, healthcare, and social services. Thank you.
Okay.
Bruce, I think that's going to be the next one of the other panel discussions. Yeah, like we haven't seen the video on that one yet, so why don't we?
Okay, well, wait.
Let that one play?
Well, wait. But Andrew Judson from the Fraser Institute. What I'm wondering is, I know you guys have done some work on this. Did you want to weigh in on this topic? Because I've got you down for a few, but do you want to just bookend this one?
Well, then I'll call a friend.
Okay. God, you and McDonald are killing me up here.
If I can just do one more, just to put into perspective, because a lot of people think that Alberta's success is luck. You know what? Quebec is very lucky to have been able to have an historic 70-year agreement with Churchill Falls that got subsidized electricity. They're very lucky also to have aluminum and all of the minerals that they could develop. They're very lucky to also have natural gas that they could develop. They have a 200-year supply of natural gas. And to Trevor's point, just to know that their subsidized electricity means that their people pay 4 cents a kilowatt hour less than other jurisdictions. And if it's 1 cent equals $1.5 billion, that's $6 billion less in equalization they would get just by charging market rates for electricity. And then if they decided to use their luck and develop their natural gas, they probably wouldn't need equalization at all. So initiative matters, and we shouldn't be punished for our initiative. I think that's one of the things that I keep hearing.
Just apropos of that, I'd like to point out that the Venezuela has the second largest oil and gas reserve, or oil reserves in the world after Saudi Arabia. Alberta is third. Now, we have managed our resources far better than they have in Venezuela. They had the luck to have more oil than we do, and they have completely and utterly mismanaged it. So to say we're lucky, yeah, but we've worked to make it an effective system.
Okay. So I'm going to do my best to hear from as many as you as possible. So let's get the next video ready to go. If you didn't get to this one and you want to say more, you can at the end. Sorry, Andrew.
We have a lady at this microphone who got missed. Perhaps you didn't see her behind the column.
I didn't see what?
There's a woman here at the microphone. One last comment.
Yes, Andrew. Sometimes we have to shut it down and move on, but I'll go to this lady. Thank you.
And I'll be very quick. With all due respect, the Honourable Mr. Justice MacDonald, if you have, I've been in court for a long time, and I was with Mr. Barish, Brian Barish, and he brought forward a book called the Income Tax Act, which he said has far more power than the criminal code. He was reading it and he found it really, really strict. Please don't advise people to not pay their taxes to Ottawa and break the law.
Thank you.
Hold on
Okay.
now. I want to make it clear. I've never advocated that.
Bruce.
I've never advocated that.
No,
Let's
you
be
didn't.
clear.
You didn't say that. But here's what happens, guys. Like, you got to let me drive, okay? Because it's a tough night. I want to hear from as many as possible. Alberta pension plan video. That's where we're going. Can we roll it? Thanks.
Our next topic is creating an Alberta pension plan with the same or better benefits than the Canada pension plan. With a younger and more productive workforce, Alberta workers contribute about $3 billion more each year to the Canada pension plan than Alberta seniors receive in benefits. Alberta has the constitutional right to exit the CPP. And if we did, federal legislation says that Alberta would be entitled to a sizable share of the CPP assets that we could use to start our own provincial pension plan, so long as we guarantee comparable pension benefits for seniors. Quebec made the decision to start its own pension plan decades ago, and they have an agreement with Ottawa so that all retirees receive their full pension benefits, whether they worked in Quebec, retired there, or some mix of both. Alberta could negotiate a similar arrangement with Ottawa if we created our own pension plan. There are more factors to consider as well. Currently, virtually all investment decisions and management of the
Okay. Everybody will get a chance to vote, I promise. Something tells me we're going to have a bit of a back and forth on this. It's all good. It's all good. Everybody can have their say. Let's start over here.
Thank you. Hello.
Go ahead.
My name's Roberta Stasek. I live in Fort Saskatchewan. I was born and raised in Alberta.
We can't quite hear you. A little closer to the mic.
Sorry. I'm afraid of feedback. I was born and raised in Alberta. My parents were born and raised in Alberta. My grandparents homesteaded in Alberta. And I hate to see what this province is becoming. We sound like bratty children. We're getting a bad deal. Anyways, to the pension plan, I want to address the question because the question is misleading, and it's misleading on the survey. And that, as someone who has experience in education in surveys, I'm going to tell you this is a horrible question.
Thank you. I just can't let it keep going, right? Like, you got to get to the point. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Over here.
Thank you. My name is Hans Smits, and I'm from Edmonton.
Sorry, I didn't get your name, sir?
Hans Smits.
Hans Smits.
Thanks. I retired when I was 65, 14 years ago, and happily collecting a Canada pension plan as well as my work pension plan. I wonder if you could explain how moving away from a very large pension plan, the CPP, which is apparently one of the best pension plans in the world, and moving that to a much smaller jurisdiction, which would make it much more liable to the ups and downs of the market, for one thing. And how that would then really ensure the security of Albertans.
Fair.
It's not just for people like me, but also
for sure.
And just one other point.
Okay.
What guarantees would there be that this Alberta pension plan would not be used for so-called ideological ends?
Got it. Well, we're lucky. We've got a couple of people that have just recently put out papers on this that are on the panel. So, great question. And might I say, if you've been retired for 14 years, sir, whatever you're doing is working. I got to tell you. Let's go. I'm thinking maybe Andrew Judson. Didn't you guys just put out a report on this subject?
Yeah, thanks, Bruce, and good evening. And obviously a passionate subject for everyone here. Bruce mentioned when I came in, I'm on the board of the Fraser Institute, and on Monday we published a report, and it simply wanted to look at would a Alberta participant in a pension scheme be worse off or better off under an Alberta managed scheme, and obviously that's a large concern for people that would look to review this thing. And you can have a look at that. It's on their website, fraser.org. And to simply put the math there, because of our younger workforce, because of our higher employment rates, because of our higher median incomes, no question that the contribution rate for that Albertan would fall. There's no question that that level of benefits would be available to them at a lower contribution rate. Then, if that pensioner or that worker working towards their pension took that incremental savings, having not contributed, and put it into a parallel program, an additional program, earning its own return, what would be the benefit of that over a period of expected time, 10, 20 years? And the answer is a material improvement in the net value of that pension under an Alberta system. That's just the math, and you can have a look at that. Naturally, So to further your questions, though, it would still be a substantive pension. It would still hold the same guarantees behind the government, though you see at the national level. And as for the independence of that pension group, it's, in my view, no different than what we're currently seeing at the Canada Pension Plan level.
Andrew, it's complex as heck, and I hate to do this, but we got to tighten it up, okay? Because I want to save their time. Trevor Toome, please.
Yeah, very, very quick. And like all policy choices, it comes with trade-offs. There's pros and cons. And I completely agree with Andrew that Alberta's demographics lead to an advantage in the form of a lower contribution. But the point made by the speaker is a correct one, that Alberta would be more exposed to investment volatility than the CPP is. And so that additional risk is one trade-off to consider.
Excellent. Okay.
That being said, we already manage $180 billion through AIMCO. And if we added $140 billion, that would be $320 billion, which would be a substantial investment a pot that we'd be able to manage.
That's it. Ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Hazel. I'm a third-generation immigrant. I grew up in rural Alberta. And I have a comment for Professor Toom. Thank you for being part of the panel. Last time there was talk on the Alberta pension, I really liked your research. Very valuable for making decisions. I have a comment today on the video. It talks about diversity, equity, and inclusion as being a negative factor in CPP investments. I actually have done some research myself and can't find that. In fact, I find the opposite, where DEI can have a positive correlation to investments. And I would like to know if you will be clarifying some of this, because Albertans need to make decisions on facts, not propaganda.
Thank you. Okay, so all in favor of DEI for investments. Okay, let's go over here.
Just a comment on the DE&I stuff. I was able to have maternity leave because of DE&I policies. Thank you very much. My name is Nicole, also from Fort Saskatchewan. I would like to actually ask, why is this question even a question when we already have done this survey and there's only 10% of the Alberta population that was for the Alberta pension plan? That is my question.
Yep.
Please,
Yep.
somebody answer this.
Okay, thank you. So I guess that's, if it ever happens, there would be a referendum. The Premier's committed to that. So, yeah.
Well, I guess, Bruce, it's because as different groups have gone out and done policy forums, the public sentiment has changed somewhat. We most recent polling that we did showed that more people were interested in an Alberta pension plan than not, and there's still a large number of undecided. So we're still consulting on that.
That's it. So you might not like the answer, but just listen to it. It's just respectful. Let's go over here.
Hi, my name's Nancy. I'm from Sherwood Park. And first of all, on the equity side, if we have a problem with the equalization payment formula, perhaps we should talk to the chair of AIMCO, because it was his conservative government that put that formula in place with the support of Jason Kenney. So I'll start there, because it was not the so-called Trudeau Liberals who did it. I do not support an Alberta pension plan.
Okay.
The Canadian pension plan is envied around the world for its independence, its excellent fiscal management, and consistent high returns. Between 2013 and 2022, investments delivered the highest 10-year returns of any pension fund in the world.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Okay, we'll come to this side. Go ahead.
Again, I'm from Alberta. I am Métis, and I support CPP for the simple reason I agree with the other 77% who said no. Why are we still doing this?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's going to be interesting to ask. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ryan from Sturgeon County. The Alberta Agenda in 2001, it proposed Alberta pension plan. We're CPP. I would rather that be in Alberta towards Alberta infrastructure.
Excellent. Couple minutes left on this one, Darby. Couple minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. To that gentleman who just spoke that he put $1,700. That's not, that money is in your account. It's under your sin. So this is misunderstood. It is your money. And that really has nothing to do with Alberta or Ottawa, or Toronto, New York City. It's your money, and mine, my $50,000 that I've contributed in my working life is in my account under my name. And when I go, I get it back. And I get that $50,000 back in less than 5 years. That's all I've contributed. I just retired. I've contributed about 50 grand. I'll get it all back in 4 years. 4 to 5 years.
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
math. I did the numbers. I'm an economist, Mr. Trevor.
Okay,
I'm an
let's
economist. I respect what.
Let's go. You know what you could do? You could just walk over there and talk to her. That's what I do. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Todd. All I care about my pension is that it exists when I retire. And I can stick with the CPP, which is one of the most effective things in the world. I can gamble with you idiots.
Okay. You know, we had this thing on parliamentary language, like when we were MLAs. I think I got thrown out once. So it happened. So that's a bit of a mulligan, but let's try and be better. Go ahead.
Hello, Randy from Stony Plain.
Hey, Randy.
So it's my understanding that with an Alberta pension plan, our seniors would have $3 billion a year. They'd be further ahead each year. This would equate to roughly a 25% increase in the seniors' income. The current CPP payments are well below the poverty line. Having been in customer service industry, we know that perception is more powerful than reality, and generally speaking, people are uneasy with change, making a successful referendum challenging. While I'm personally 10 years away from retirement, an Alberta pension plan should be introduced this year on compassionate grounds in the best interest of our seniors, regardless of the $140 billion in assets we have in CPP, which will likely be tied up in court for 10 years. The $140 billion, in my opinion, is a distraction, not necessary for the implementation of the APP. And I'm sure that there'll be some bumps along the road, but
Thanks.
Alberta has the brain power, the brawn, and the entrepreneurship to solve these obstacles.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. We've got time for maybe one or two more, and then we're going to go to the next. We're going to do a poll, so get ready. Let's go over here.
Hello there. So I just want to double check something with the fact about the Alberta pension plan. Two questions. Where is the money from the CPP, given the fact that the federal government has internalized that as part of the balance sheets, meaning that the money that's supposed to be at the CPP was in fact at the balance sheets for the government in order to offset the massive debt that we have in Canada, question one. And two, given that the CPP board is directly appointed by the Finance Minister of Canada, what mechanism do we have and will have that the Alberta pension plan will be a state away from the Alberta government control? Thank you.
Okay. Trevor, do you want to address that?
Yeah. Quick answers to both questions. To the first question, the CPP finances are not on the federal government budget. It is a separate entity. And to the second question, it's not something that's unilaterally controlled from the federal government either. Changes require 2/3 of the provinces representing 2/3 of the population, plus the feds, in order to make changes.
Okay, so we ran this one right out of time. If you didn't get to speak, I promise at the end, come on back. And I want to remind people, if you've already spoken, just unless it's like a major burning desire on the next topic, please let somebody that hasn't spoken go up ahead of you, because we'd like to hear from as many people as possible. All right, on the Alberta pension plan, who would like to see a separate APP? Hands up. Who likes things the way they are, CPP? Well, does anybody want to rank that? One more time. Who likes the APP? And who would prefer no Alberta pension plan? Okay, so we got it. The next video that we're going to watch is on a provincial police force. Okay. This will be smooth as silk. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tanya from Sherwood Park, and I wanted to address the last question, but I will address this question in the misinformation about the French language that's required from Alberta police officers. I know a very senior RCMP police officer who maybe will know 10 words of French. It has not hindered his career move. I think the cost of this would be astronomical. As a matter of fact, I think all 6 of these items on this Alberta Next panel is not even in my top 20 list of things that I find most important for this government. I think that this Alberta government should stay in their lane and focus on public health, public education, making sure that those things are funded, and stop giving money to rich friends for private surgical suites and to privatize our healthcare system.
Bruce, can I just say that the RCMP has previously confirmed that all deputy and assistant commissioner positions in Ottawa are designated bilingual, as are positions held by civilians within senior staff. CBC has also reported that the RCMP has had to implement new measures to ensure that senior managers and people that want to be senior managers are bilingual. So I just need to do a bit of a fact check on that one.
Yep, 100%. Okay, on the provincial police force, what are your thoughts?
I would actually just like to speak to a success story for this. I'm from Camrose. We currently have a hybrid. We have city RCMP. We have provincial, federal RCMP. We also have county municipal police. I can tell you it is important, and it is important to rural. Previous to our county taking on the county police portion, people did not know where I lived. I live in Middle Earth, Alberta. We have had immediate presence, which curbs crime, which I'm grateful for. We've had incredibly increased response time to accidents, to break and enters. Rural crime is up. I appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel Smith. Thank you, Alberta.
You know, I want to put an MLA on the spot. Brandon Lunty, Leduc Beaumont. Okay, so you deal with some of this in your constituency, I'm sure. What kinds of things are you hearing on this subject?
All right, well, thanks, Bruce. I feel I should throw it to Trevor. That's what everyone's been doing it, but no, I'm happy to chat. So I was born and raised in rural Alberta, and I have family who are still there. And as the speaker said, we've seen crime increase, and so it's really important to put some options on the table. And this is an important discussion. I know in my constituency, Leduc Beaumont, proud to be a capital region MLA here, and one of the number one issues I'm hearing is from business owners who are concerned about their businesses. One guy said, I was broken into 3 times in a week. And that's why I hear that all the time. So again, this conversation is about options. So how can we make rural Alberta safer? How can we protect our businesses so that they can protect their properties and keep contributing to their communities? So I think this is a really important conversation.
Thank you, Brandon. Go ahead.
Hi there, my name is Jen. I'm from Sherwood Park. Jen. I'm thinking about all the young families in Strathcona County and how expensive things are. I find it very interesting that the top 3 subjects right now are taking things away from the federal government and owning it ourselves, managing it ourselves. Forgive me, but I don't have a lot of faith in the Conservative government to manage this number of large projects. When we have paid billions in broken contracts and failed projects, that's just not the group that I want managing these huge, huge projects. Yep. And it's the federal government, the Liberal government, that helps families with child tax benefit, and young families are getting child tax
Thanks,
benefit.
Jen. That's it. It's 45. Thank you. Okay, over here.
I'm just waiting for them to die down. Hi.
Go ahead.
My name is Shelley, and I know it's about the policing. I just need to address the pension thing. I just have one simple question. If Alberta really wants their own pension plan, why can't we have both? Why can't we have an Alberta pension plan in conjunction with the CPP?
Well, there's
actually
a good reason. So, look, I'm going to give you a mulligan. Normally, I'd say come back and ask at the end because we're done your subject, but moderator's choice. Trevor, can you address that?
We could have both. It would mean higher payroll taxes to fund the supplementary plan. So that'd be the trade-off.
Okay. That's it. We were fair.
Can I just say it has to be in addition to.
Okay.
It can't be It can't, because I think what some people have said is, can I choose to be in Alberta pension plan and you choose to be in CPP? That's not the way it works. It's all or nothing.
Yep, that's it. Okay, so back to the police force. Thank you. Over here.
Hi, I'm Brian from Hardisty, and we out in rural Alberta, we really need a police force.
Yes.
We are stuck in the middle of, it's 45 minutes to each RCMP officers, and the problem is that they're so understaffed, so it's not their fault. But we really need to have a police force that lives in our community, works with our people, and grows and works with the communities. Thanks.
Okay. Can I ask my good friend Stephen Buffalo, like things are done differently in some of your communities. Do you want to weigh in on this and sort of how you look at this?
Yeah, for sure. You know, and then we're got a couple of First Nations in Alberta that have decided to do their own police force. The Blood Tribe, for example, that's the biggest reserve in Canada. They had to formulate their own police as well. The Tatuna out of near Calgary, they have their own police force too. And I'm pretty sure things work well with other jurisdictions, stuff like that. But the initiative. I had lunch with former council member from the Enoch Cree Nation, and they've always looked at this too as well. But it's just finding the resources to do it. But the initiative is there, so it could be positive.
That's it. Up to the members in the community. Thank you, Stephen. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Rick. Yeah, I know a few police officers. I know they all do their job, and I don't think it matters which police force they work for. I think they're all there, to protect us, to do what is right. But I think we're tackling this issue in the wrong way. I think the police service is okay. It'd be maybe better with an Alberta police force. But, I watch TV, the news, criminals, and I think the problem is not the police force, but the justice system. How they are not, they're letting criminals go, and they're not doing a proper job. I think there's a lot of corruption in the justice system. Judges being paid off. I'm not naming any names, but I think it is deeper, more important.
It's a great point, and I want somebody to address it.
Well, I'm going to interject,
Mr.
and I have differences with a lot of my fellow judges for philosophical reasons, but I categorically reject that there's been any judge at any time in Alberta that's been paid off. That is a scandalous comment to make about the judiciary of this province. For all its failings, is at least honest.
Mr. McDonald, could you address the issue, the broader issue, the subject of what we're talking about?
Well, that has to be, the catch and release is of course built into the criminal code, which is a matter of federal responsibility. So that is something that the province has no direct control over, and I understand that our province and others are dealing with Ottawa to try to get them to tighten up the bail requirements, and I think it's long overdue.
Thank you, and I will say that if you've ever seen Mike Ellis do an interview, the Deputy Premier Public Services, Public Safety Emergency Services Minister, he is always pushing on that very point. The catch and release system isn't working. I think federal politicians might be starting to get that. Hopefully we'll see some change. Who knows? Go ahead.
Tanner here again. The website states that close to 80% of Albertans are serviced by municipal police forces. I took the populations of the municipal police forces that accounted to just 60% and not the 80 as stated. That's just one thing. But I think the biggest problem here is the expenses. That's what everybody kind of has the problem with, is just how expensive it's going to be. The expense for the RCMP expected this year is $4.8 billion. It's divided by every Canadian taxpayer, which comes out to about $121 for this year per person. The expenses for the OPP in 2019 was $2.8 billion, and for the population of Ontario in 2019, it amounted to $195 per person, and that was only in Ontario. Paid 62% more than the RCMP. We have a manpower issue as well with just getting recruits, like that one person said with the RCMP. They have a manpower issue. I don't know how we're going to resolve that, and as well as just buying new facilities, as well as support staff.
Got it.
Yeah, just
Got
everything.
it. So let's look at the finances, right? It's a great question. Fair point. Anybody?
Yeah.
I'm not,
Well, first of all, Alberta owns all of the assets associated with the RCMP. So if there was a replacement, we would get all of those assets. Secondly, Grand Prairie just went through this exercise. And what they discovered is that they could either save $8 million by having their own municipal police force, or they could double their force. And so that's what they've chosen to do. So instead of having 55 officers, they're going to have 110 officers for the same budget. And when they did a call for resumes, they had 200 people who applied. So I would say that that is the reason why we've supported municipalities in doing this kind of research, to see if there is a better way for them to do it.
Right. So municipality-led. Okay.
The answer to this question is yes, but we need to talk financials. Currently, the Alberta Sheriffs are the lowest paid peace officer body in Alberta. So let's not only expand the Alberta Sheriffs, let's pay them more. So let's talk the financials on this. When are the Alberta Sheriffs getting a raise?
Well, I know we're big fans of the Alberta Sheriffs. Premier, I'm not able to answer that question. I think Minister Schultz should, just to put her on the spot.
I don't think the finance minister would like to read me making comments about bargaining outside of the bargaining process. But of course, there is a process for public servants, including the sheriffs, to go through that process. But I can tell you that our government has been very supportive of expanding the sheriffs, including scope, and ensuring that they're able to help out in areas, certainly as a Calgary MLA, and I know the same as Edmonton, where there were gaps in service. The sheriffs really stepped up to fill in those gaps and help make sure that our communities are safe. And I know the Premier has been advocating for that, as has Minister Ellis.
Right on. Okay, over here.
Hello, I'm Chara Goodings. I'm originally from Hanna, Alberta, grew up in rural Alberta. I now live in St. Albert. And I just want to say, first of all, I do not recall this particular issue being part of the Premier's campaign platform. I believe she actually took it off of her platform, so I don't understand why this is even being brought up, because this is not something that anyone voted on during the election. Also, I don't understand where you're going to get, as Alex mentioned before, where you're going to get the bodies for this, because the sheriffs are looking for people, the EPS is constantly looking for people, RCMP is looking for people, and also the sheriffs are not at all even close to being trained for any kind of level of this. They are very low police officers. And being born and raised in rural Alberta, you know, our RCMP are part of the community. Yep. They are always there. They are, they know everyone in all the rural communities. So you're making it sound like they don't know anyone who lives there.
Gotcha. Let me make one point, and I don't know if somebody up here wants to chat to that, but nobody up here or I think out there is saying anything derogatory about the people that serve us. Wonderful. What the question is could there be better service for communities, and should communities make that choice? And I think that's what we're talking about. But nobody is criticizing RCMP or people, just to be clear, okay? Did anybody want to go ahead?
Well, when we changed the act that governs sheriffs to allow them to be affirmed as police officers, that's in addition to all the different forces that we have right now. It's not in replace of. And there are, in fact, 650 of those officers that we believe already have the training in order to be able to be affirmed as police officers. We have a fugitive apprehension team that has caught thousands of bad guys under warrant. We have a scan team that shuts down drug houses, a surveillance team that works in collaboration with all of the police forces. We've got our border control, our patrol team, and increasingly we're being asked by municipalities to set up detachments. We've got 2 municipalities that want to set up sheriff's detachments. We've embedded sheriffs in both Calgary and Edmonton. I met with the new police chief in Calgary, was very delighted at the collaboration that they're having with the sheriffs. So it's in addition to, and I think that is in keeping with everything that we have said that we're going to do. The question is, the RCMP contract comes up in 2032. When Trudeau left, he issued a white paper saying that it is his view that we should move towards having the RCMP do higher order policing functions and get away from community contract policing. That is a federal government position paper, and that is the question that I think we're asking about. We haven't made a decision on that yet.
Okay. You know what would be perfect right now, because I've been told to move on from this subject? It would be perfect if we had a former police officer at a microphone that could address this. That would be awesome.
Bruce,
I see one. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I was trying to lay low.
Guy your size can't lay low.
Well, let me start by thank you, Bruce, and Premier, Minister, MLAs, and public members for coming. My name is Steve Young. I'm from Edmonton. And I just want to underscore the fact that men and women of the RCMP are doing an awesome job. Okay. And having worked with them and interacted with them. But this is not about the men and women. It's about governance. It's about accountability. And it's about the interoperability of municipal police services, operations, mutual support, and a lot of people don't get this because it's IT, but information management and how we share information across the province with CISA and all the municipal police services. And a fully integrated provincial police approach will be a way better approach to rural crime, gangs, drugs, human trafficking, because it's not siloed by organizations and memo requests to Ottawa. And I do want to put some high praise on Chief Lacoste and Grand Prairie. Great job. Now here's my question. So what is the transition timeline to fully stand up the Alberta Police Service, and how will it interface with Canadian Border Services for the Alberta security efforts?
Gotcha.
And one more thing.
No.
Will there be a provincial police commission separating politics from the police service?
Steve, thank you. Go ahead, Premier, real quick.
So first of all, we've already hired a chief for the sheriffs, who is a former deputy chief in Calgary. He will be building out his force with the senior leadership, and then we'll affirm the 650 officers that already have the training, who will also be identified as police. That's already underway, and then others will be able to have a pathway to train. Keep in mind, we have on contract 1,911 RCMP officers. At any given time, we have about 1,400. So to have 650 sheriffs right away, I think also really adds to our force. We already have interoperability with the sheriffs. We've been working on that for some time. And we have also hired the head of a police commission. So yes, there will be civilian oversight of that as well. We've already put that commissioner in place in the last couple of weeks.
That's amazing. Premier, that was 45 right on the nose. Okay, let's ask the question. How many of you would support ending the RCMP contract when it's time and moving to an Alberta model, the police force? Who would be opposed to that? Excellent. Thanks for your participation. That was a very good discussion. The next discussion will be on constitutional changes. Here's the video.
Our next topic is Alberta taking a lead role in working with other provinces to pressure the federal government to amend the Canadian Constitution to empower and better protect provincial rights. The Canadian Constitution, including its Charter of Rights of Freedoms and sections on the division of powers between the federal and provincial governments, is foundational to our democracy. The enforcement of the Constitution by governments and the courts ensures our rights and freedoms are protected, and that our provincial and federal governments generally function as they should. But no document is perfect. Some things that made sense 150 years ago may no longer make sense today. That is why the Constitution contains an amending formula that permits the Constitution to be altered should enough provinces and the federal government agree to it. Over the last decades, several outdated and unfair problems with the Constitution have been identified, but no tangible progress has been made to fix them, due primarily to a lack of federal and provincial leadership. Examples of proposed constitutional reforms include the following. 1. Amending the division of powers to
Okay. This one will be easier than the others, right? All right. Who wants to start? And I'm going to remind everybody, too, if you've been to the mic and there are others in the line that haven't been to the mic, I can see someone over there, just go to the back and let the others that haven't speak. Go ahead.
All right, it was one of my pet things. I've been talking to many people. Is the charter is rights and responsibilities. You have no rights until you take responsibility. That's the basis. Responsibility is the basis of any civil society. We put it in there. They mentioned about the Alberta Rights Act, but without responsibility. Yep. So you have a responsibility. It falls through everything we're talking about right now. If you're responsible, you have the right to do things, whether it's gun control. If you're a responsible gun owner, keeps it. If you're irresponsible, too bad. You know, you have no rights at all. If you have a bad guys, like they said, the catch and release program,
yep,
they have no rights because they're not being responsible.
Right.
So that's the biggest key. It has to be brought in is responsibility, responsible government.
Thank you.
You.
Okay. I'm going to stay in the lines for a second, but I'd like Justice McDonald and Mr. Binion to get ready for this one. I think you two would be the guys. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi. My name is Barbara Nichols. I am from Edmonton. I want to say kudos to Premier and to this plan that you have. I guess I can see the purpose of these meetings. Anyhow, what I wanted to suggest was the fact that Alberta, if we need to continue to give Ottawa a time limit. And I guess my first question is, how long should that time limit remain? And second question is, if Alberta is ready to take the role to become independent, we then would become an example to the rest of the provinces on how to reconstitute Canada.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going out on a limb. I'm looking at another MLA, Glenn Van Dyken. I know this maybe isn't your wheelhouse, Glenn, but I know you're pretty informed on most subjects. Do you want to weigh in as to how this plays out and the things we discuss and how you look at it?
Well, I can try, Bruce. From an agricultural riding, I hear a lot about policy that government does. And the farmers and ranchers that I talk to, prairie farmers and ranchers are always nervous about government policy that would add extra cost into their operation. And prairie producers are also concerned with the fact that sometimes government policy reduces their revenue. Classic example is when the federal government decided to do tariffs on electric vehicles coming from China. It was very predictable that it was that China would do retaliatory tariffs against prairie grain crops, canola and pork. And so these kinds of government policies we have to be very careful with, and prairie producers do not want to see where they pay the bill to protect the electric vehicle manufacturing within Eastern Canada.
Yeah. I'm glad I went to you, Glenn. Thank you. That is so good. Go ahead.
My name is Albert Beal. I'm from Strathcona and Sherwood Park. The question I have is, can we have a constitutional convention and go over every detail of our constitution in Canada, rip up everything we have and start all over from ground zero and make it relevant?
So,
and part of that is in order to have sovereignty, we must have 100% control of our finances, and that has to be in our Constitution. Thank you.
Albert, thank you. Michael, you're a bit of a history buff.
Right. Okay. Well, I've just put a paper out for publishing on the constitutional and legal history of the Constitution relative to autonomy, and I think the interesting thing is to understand that Canada itself became autonomous from Britain through a process called responsible government, and responsible government being demonstrate that you can self-govern in a responsible way, and power should be devolved closer to the people being governed. And this was enumerated by the the Durham Report after the rebellions in the 1830s. And there have been significant constitutional changes in this country every generation or two. So if you think the Durham Report was creating the province of Canada, but before that we had the Upper and Lower Canada, and before that we had the Act of Quebec, and then the other one we had the BNA Act, and then we've had the creation of the provinces. We had the sale of Rupert's Land to Canada, followed by 3 treaties. We've had the 1930 Resource Transfer Act. We had the 1931 Statute of Westminster. We had the 82 BNA Act. We've had the Clarity Reference. So every
45.
generation or two, I've got 2 more seconds, he's saying. But what I think relative to that is that demonstrating self-government is something that Quebec has done very well. I think we often think we get outvoted by them. They sent 44 Liberal MPs to Ottawa, Saskatchewan, and Alberta sent 46 in the last election. We have 6 million, over 6 million people in the West here. They have 8.5 million. We're not really getting outvoted, but they have aggressively demonstrated self-government. And I think that's something, and I've listened to the people tonight, I worry about our ability to govern ourselves, but I also know that we won't be more autonomous from Ottawa until we learn to do it.
Okay.
Can I just weigh in on that as well, Bruce?
It's hard to put you guys on a timer.
Well, I think it's important, and this may be a question that we put to folks, so just keep in mind, I think there's a lot of us who are scarred from the last constitutional round, whether it was the failure of the Meech Lake Accord and then the Charlottetown Accord that led to a referendum that failed as well. And so I think people have lost confidence in the ability of that process. But when you look at, for instance, the number of Senate seats, it's very clear that if we were drafting the number of Senate seats today, it wouldn't be drafted the way it is written in the Constitution. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, each have 10 seats, and they only have about 1 million people. We have 6 seats, as does British Columbia, and we've got 5 million people, and they've got 5.5 million. So the question is, do we have the fortitude and the stomach to go through another round of negotiations, knowing that the last major one was not particularly successful? But, it's been 30 years, so we might ask that question.
That's great context. Go ahead.
More a suggestion for the Constitution than anything else. Politicians always get to vote for their own raises, while simultaneously fighting against nurse unions, teachers, etc. Why do we not just put politicians at 3 times the median wage, and they can have bonuses based on cost of living? Therefore, their actual pay depends on how they serve the people.
So hang on one sec. Just curious. Are you involved politically at all?
Pardon?
Are you involved politically at all?
No.
You should be. You should join your local constituency association. Just get involved and share ideas. It's how it works. And even the crazy ones like Brandon can get elected. So it's...
Can I just... Sorry, Bruce, I gotta jump in there.
Go ahead, Premier.
So median wage is $70,000 in Alberta. So that would mean that Alberta politicians would get paid $210,000. Our Alberta politicians get paid $122,000 right now. So just want to make everyone understand that would be a substantial pay increase. And one of the things that we just did is that we don't take a pay increase until we settled with our unions. So we do not allow politicians to get raises before we see what the settlements are. Last year's average settlements were 2.3%, so that's what the politicians got. Politicians don't get EI, they don't get severance, and they do not get a pension in this province as well. I know that there's a lot of misinformation about what relative pay and benefits would be, but I just wanted you to know the baseline of where we're at.
And I still say you should get involved. Like, seriously. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Bill Robertson. I'm from Tofield, Alberta. Quebec legislature votes unanimously to cut all ties with the monarchy in May 2025, using the 1931 Statute of Westminster. Alberta could do the same thing. This would give Alberta a lot of autonomy within Canada or as its own republic. I asked the panel to weigh in on such an endeavor.
Well, you sure don't ask easy questions. Justice McDonald?
Well, I don't think, with all due respect, that the Statute of Westminster really allows that to happen. I know Quebec has done that, but the legality of that, in my view, is questionable.
Okay.
Well, yes, they're doing it, but it doesn't mean that that's something that's lawful. Because really under the existing Constitution, which they're bound by, it takes a unanimous consent of all the provinces as well as the federal government to abolish the monarchy.
But it's a good question. We did our best. Thank you for bringing it up. And I promise you, if we don't have an answer, it'll be found. We'll look into it. We'll try. We'll take it away. That's why we're here. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Natasha. I'm from Edmonton. You're talking about responsible government and changing the Constitution and all these things. I have a question, if you care to answer. But how can you be talking about responsible government when your government isn't even addressing the things that are actually in your jurisdiction right now, like healthcare and education and caring for our disabled communities? You give yourselves a raise for $2,400 for your living expenses, but you take $200 away from people on AISH. Like, how do you have absolutely no shame?
Thank you. I would say, Premier, I'd like you to address this, but I would say the AISH comment is a bit misleading because are our AISH payments not the highest in the country?
Yeah, our AISH payments are $1,901, and the federal government. The federal government has challenged all of the other provinces to come up to 1,813, so we've surpassed that. The other provinces our next closest neighbors are about $400 to $500 less per month than we are. In addition, we have a plan that covers all of the medical expenses on AISH, which is the equivalent of about another $400 per month. We also have rental supplements, so we have a whole package of supports that we give that are different than other provinces.
Thank you. And I'll just remind everybody that, like, we're happy to do this in the last half hour. It's what we wanted to do. But if you can stick to the topic while it's here, that would be ideal. We'll try to allow some gratitude or we'll try to allow you to do it if you sneak one in on me. But let's not make a habit of it. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kathy. Alberta's grievances with Ottawa predate our becoming a province. For over 100 years, many attempts to achieve equality have been tried, all to no avail. We remember Preston Manning's The West Wants In Reform Party couldn't do it. When Harper became Prime Minister and the West was in, it didn't seem to matter. So is longing for a better deal with Ottawa actually the answer? What if negotiations actually create unintended consequences, making things even worse for us? That risk is real because we don't have any friends in Ottawa. So let's just move forward with a referendum on independence, force that Constitution open, and see where those talks take us.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Senate reform was in the 2001 Alberta agenda. Stephen Harper tried to give us Senate reform. It was Supreme Court said we had to open the Constitution. What is the 710 rule, and how do we open the Constitution?
Good question.
So we had hoped that the equalization vote would have initiated that process. That's what I think we had anticipated, that if we voted in our legislature that we wanted to do a removal of equalization, then 7 out of 10 provinces representing 50% of the population, we assumed that they would do the same thing, and then it would go on to House of Commons and Senate. As we saw, that didn't quite work out that way. But that would be the way that you'd be able to amend the Constitution on a case-by-case basis without having a full-blown constitutional convention. And there may be some issues that we discuss here where we might want to do that. For instance, one of the proposals that's been discussed at the Premier's table is an amendment to Section 92 in the resource section, saying, or Section 92, which is our powers, saying that the federal government cannot pass policy or spend in our areas of jurisdiction without consent of the province. We could potentially do that as a one-off and get the other provinces to agree to that, and then have it go to the House of Commons and Senate. But the judge might add more to that, or correct me if my understanding is incorrect.
No, your understanding is completely correct, and see what would happen in Ottawa, I guess, is the real interesting matter.
Okay. Let's go to the next video on immigration, potential immigration reform.
Our next topic is Alberta taking more control of the immigration system to counter Ottawa's majority of the social programs that newcomers need. So obviously, we should have a say about who is coming here. If Alberta isn't satisfied with the number or economic qualifications of newcomers moving to our province, we may have the option to withhold provincial social programs to any non-citizen or non-permanent resident who does not have an Alberta-approved immigration status. This would likely encourage more sustainable numbers of immigration overall, while supporting the entry of newcomers that can contribute to our provincial economy. If Alberta went this direction, Ottawa could decide to fight Alberta on this issue in the courts, and there would be some additional costs in taking a more hands-on approach to immigration. However, much, if not all of that cost, could be offset.
Okay, so this one I'd like to do a little bit differently. Folks, there's three first-generation Canadians on our panel. Phenomenal stories, and I hope you get to chat with them after if you hang around. Dr. Benny, could you kick us off? And what I'd like to ask you is a twofold question. Okay, what was it like? What year did you come? What was it like? And what changes have you observed? What do you see?
Thank you, Bruce. First, let me give you a little history of my background. So I came from China. So I come from a family practicing the traditional Chinese medicine for generations. So in the early 90s, my father decided to look at which country we can immigrate to so we can have better living. So back then, China's a doctor is making about $50 Canadian monthly. So my father decided to bring his children here so we can have a brighter future. So I would like to thank Canada and Alberta. So this is the place allowing us to grow and give us a lot of opportunities, and we can contribute as well. However, the landscape has changed over the last decade, I will say. It seems like we are not attracting the type of talents or skilled workers we wanted. We were thrown, to us, and we just cannot get the type of people we needed. As a matter of fact, Canada used to rank #1 to attract skilled and talented workers. We're ranking #9 right now worldwide. People don't even want to come here. New businesses doesn't want to come here because we don't provide what they need. So I will say this is maybe a good time we can discuss immigration reforms and policy reforms, so we can match at least provincially what we need, to attract the type of talents, at least to address our future. Thank you,
Dr. Benny. Thank you. I'm going to go to the mics, but Dr. Aiken and Samita, I'm going to come over there eventually. Okay, let's start over here.
Thank you. My name's Tammy, and I'm from Edmonton. I just want to point out that our Premier had an interview where she had requested from the federal government that they double the amount of immigrants that would come to Alberta. And she also had an interview where she had made an idea that maybe we could increase the population of Alberta to 10 million people, but not anything to do with the infrastructure that was needed for that. So I'm just wondering, Premier, how come that's changed and why you're now punching down on immigrants that are coming to Alberta?
Ooh. Well, no one's punching down. What I would say is that if you look at the level of migrants that came over the last 2.5 years, so the Alberta's Calling campaign began just before I got elected, and in that interim period, we've had almost 500,000 people who have come here in 3 years. And if we'd continued at that rate, for sure, we would have hit 10 million pretty quickly. But what we've begun to see is that we've got problems with unemployment, certainly youth unemployment. We've got problems with people being able to find affordable housing and affordable rents. We've got increasing pressure on our social programs. So there has to be a reasonable amount of newcomers that are able to come here, fit into the economy, be able to be self-supporting, and that is, I think, it's a bit high at the moment. Most, I think, if you look at historically, we would go with about 1% of our total population is about the level that we can have for integration. So if we're 5 million, that would be about 50,000 a year. And if we were like Quebec, Quebec chooses 55% of their migrants on the basis of language. If we were able to choose 55% of our migrants on the basis of what our economy needs, then I think that we would get the perfect mix. So that's where I think what we've learned over the last couple of years.
Perfect. Thank you. Over here.
Hi, my name is Jen Long, and I'm a researcher on migration. I just want to make it clear that this video is extremely misleading. It makes the case that migration is out of the hands of the province when the current programs allow for provinces to select migrants it wants through provincial nominee programs. In addition, business owners can select immigrants that they would like to have through the current program. So this allows and gives more fodder, because migration is a hot topic, hot button issue, to divide Albertans. I also want to say, if we're worried about having affordable housing, why aren't we putting more policies to make landlords who own empty houses to make them come on the market? And also for social supports for these individuals, why has the Premier in the past not given all the money to the municipalities like Edmonton to be able to afford those social services? Thank you.
Okay. You want?
Well, let me just put some numbers on the table. That if we looked at the number I was thinking would be sustainable, which is 50,000 per year, and we were able to select 55% of them like Quebec, that would be 27,500 that we would be able to nominate through our nominee program. The feds only allow us to nominate 3,700. And they reduced that. When I came in, I advocated for it to be higher. We got it higher for 1 year, over 10,000, and then they reduced it this past year. And they told us, if you want to be able to nominate more migrants, you've got to convince some other province to reduce their allocation. So I think that Quebec has managed to very successfully have more say over who comes into their province and what their priorities are for the fit in their economy. We're just saying that we should be able to do the same.
Dr. Aiken? Can you share a little bit of your story?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Aiken. Excuse me. I'm a family doctor and rural doctor. I was born in Nigeria, and I trained as a family doctor in Edinburgh, Scotland. Worked in England, and I currently work out of rural Alberta. I moved to Alberta about 10 years ago. Every day I wake up in Alberta, I praise God that I'm blessed to be in the most awesome, most wonderful province in the world. What I've seen that has changed is we've had massive immigration into Alberta, and nobody can, you can see it. Alberta has a 4% growth rate now in population. If Alberta was the country to be second fastest growing country in the world, it is not sustainable. And we need to have regulated immigration. We have to be able to know who's coming here to make sure we can appropriately vet them. And they have to have the required skill. When I came to Alberta, I came in on the work permit visa. I had a job from day one. I was contributing to the system from day one. I brought my own money. I wasn't a drain on the system. Yes, there are some people that are coming for safety, for economic opportunity, and Alberta are so welcoming and so kind, but their kindness should not be taken for granted. We have youth unemployment. We have housing challenges. We have 15 to 24-year-olds that cannot find jobs, that cannot find opportunity, and it's putting a pressure on those local Albertans here. And we need to be able to have control back of immigration in Alberta. Virtually, there's no social program that we can put, healthcare, education, that can survive unsustainable immigration rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sierra. I live in Leduc, and my mom is a landed immigrant, so we're pro-immigration, but pro-legal and supportive immigration to the local people. There's a scheme happening where people are coming from international places on a student visa. They're allowed to work 24 hours a month, I guess, to collect a small wage, but they're not showing up for classes. So they come on a student visa, they don't attend classes, and then they get a part-time job. They work full-time hours, and the employers pay them under the table. It's a really big deal, and I'm having trouble finding a job since March, so I was wondering if someone could speak to that. Do you know what's happening? What could we do to fix it?
our advanced education minister, Rajan Sawhney, who's now our Indigenous Relations Minister, she had found that there were a number of organizations that set themselves up as private colleges and were doing exactly as you described. So many of those got decertified, and we're working on making sure that the legitimate private colleges are offering those opportunities. The other thing I would say is Alberta actually had a relatively lower number of international students than Ontario and Quebec. In fact, you've probably seen that in Ontario, they're talking about 10,000 community college workers being laid off because of the reduction in international students. I've talked to our universities and they're not seeing anywhere near the same. There's a little bit of adjustment, but not anywhere near the same. So we might not have quite the same problem on that front as other jurisdictions. Thanks.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm seeing some familiar faces in the lines. Just a reminder, if you're there, terrific. Glad you want to share again, but please, if somebody hasn't, let them go in front of you. Samita, I would like you to share some of your thoughts and your story.
Sure, Bruce. I'd like to share a personal story again. As a first-generation immigrant, I came to Alberta about 30 years ago, looking for affordable housing and a stable job. That decision helped my family build a better life. Today, Alberta is facing pressure we cannot ignore. In 2024 alone, the province saw a net gain of approximately 50,000 people from other provinces come into our province, and which has been the highest in the last 50 years. The highest having led to at least more than 10% increase in rent, and where wages are flat, the competition is fierce. And even the entry-level roles are not available to our children and our grandchildren. Our housing, our schools, and our training system are under a lot of strain. Please allow us, please instruct us to put reasonable check stops. All we are asking for check stops so that we can make a better future for our children and our grandchildren here.
Samita? You know, Samita is also the chair of the Premier's Council on Multiculturalism. And, we're just grateful for all you do. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Scott, and I'm from Sherwood Park. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Ukrainians that have come to Alberta since the war started. So Ukrainian Congress says there's about 72,000 Ukrainians that have made Alberta the new home. I've myself, since the war broke out, have hosted at least 4 of these families in my home, helped them get resettled. When these people couldn't find work right away because they're getting themselves set up, they volunteered at the food bank and our soup kitchens. Yeah. These are the type of people we want in Alberta. Yeah. These are the type of people we want. They're good people, they're hardworking people. And if you're going to go down this path, right now they can't get a PR. Ottawa's not giving them a PR. Sorry, I know I'm pressed for time. I'll get to the point. If you change the system, I want to see them be able to get a PR. They want this place to be their home. Yep. Let's do what we can to help them. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I may, the Ukrainian settlement is a remarkable success story. To have 72,000 arrive after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and then to have the sort of the diaspora Ukrainian community step up. I know Ed Stelmach and even Thomas Lukasik were very involved in providing those kinds of supports. We did a look at how many of those newcomers were in need of social services, social supports, and it was less than 2,000. So I think that goes to the point that people came here and wanted to be either starting businesses, getting trained up, and working at whatever they could. And that is exactly the kind of newcomer that we want to be able to invite more of, so that it's a success for them and a success for us as well. So that would give us if we had the ability to issue more permanent residence nominees, that would be exactly how we would use the program. So thanks for sharing that story.
100%. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. So police yourselves. We'll go over here.
Okay, I'll be quick and respectful. I have no problem with any immigrant that wants to come here, contribute, assimilate, etc., etc. I don't have to speculate on what's happening due to Ottawa. Because for those able and especially for those willing, just look at what is happening in Europe and especially the UK. It will terrify you if you really look at the facts. That's coming here. That's all I had to say. Oh, and one other thing. Anybody wants to talk to me, I'll be here after.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello. Hi. My name is Caesar. I came from Mexico. I came here by myself, legally, and this is a city that took me in. I've seen the city go down since I've been here. I've been here for about 14 years. However, the city has gone down significantly. I want to keep this very, very high level as a province and as a country as well. Controlled immigration is good. I have nothing against immigration. I don't think anyone has anything against immigration, but it has to be controlled. It has to be sustainable, just as the doctor said. Otherwise, we're going to have a huge problem with values and definitely assimilation. We see that every day. So, thank you. And well, thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. And I just hope that everybody here is well thinking about what's going to happen in the future.
It's so hard to cut people off when they're that polite.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. No, but thank you very much.
Like, I didn't cut off Steve because he's so big. It's because you're polite. Thank you. So we got a brand new MLA up here. Terry, I'm going to put you on the spot. So you hit a lot of doors lately. I know that. Obviously, you got yourself elected. Did you hear about this kind of thing? I mean, I know you're an expert in agriculture. Maybe share your perspective.
Fun fact, both of my parents are immigrants, so I'm a first generation here too. So, yeah. Obviously, just coming off, I heard this one a lot. We talk about immigration and coming from the agriculture sector, and I just got a letter from someone who's trying to become a constituent. When it comes to the agriculture workers, so when we talk about being able to choose who we want to come here, we have a hard time on farms getting skilled workers. And so we do have some coming over, wanting to work, but having to try and hope to get into the lottery to get to stay. I have a young man who's helping on a farm in Carbon, and he wrote because he's like, I want to stay. I'm already contributing to an RRSP, but I have to wait and hope maybe I get picked for the lottery. Like, those are the type of people we want. So what we're just saying, is this is the type of thing of giving us that opportunity to have people who want to work. Yes. I mean, it's a huge problem in agriculture. Along with everywhere else. But this is not just for in the city issue. You talk about in rural environments, trying to have quality people.
Thank you. Premier, you want the last word on this one? Nope. Okay, good. Excellent. So we've got one more topic. And remember, we have sort of an open mic session. So you can talk about anything you want. Just don't turn me into Jerry Springer up here. I hope it's nothing like that. Provincial tax collection. Let's roll the video.
Our next topic is the option of Alberta collecting all provincial personal income taxes, rather than having Ottawa do it for us. Today, when Albertans file and pay their personal income taxes, they do so through the Canada Revenue Agency, which then remits the provincial portion of those personal income taxes back to the provincial government. However, Alberta businesses file and pay their provincial corporate taxes directly to the provincial government. Quebec does it differently. They collect both personal and corporate income taxes directly from Quebecers, bypassing the CRA altogether. What if Alberta did the same? There would definitely be startup and ongoing administration costs, but it would also mean bringing good-paying jobs to Alberta instead of funding federal employees in other parts of the country. Under Canada's Constitution, levying and collecting taxes is an area of provincial jurisdiction, and Alberta could transition over the coming years to collecting our personal income taxes, as we do with corporate taxes now. So what are some of the benefits to Alberta collecting its own personal income taxes? 1. Better provincial tax policy. Currently,
Tell us what you think. Let's go over here.
Hi, my name is Donna Lemieux, and I'm from Edmonton. We're here to share our opinions for you panel to hear, and I'm a little frustrated because I was up to talk about immigration and the panel took up part of our time. But what I really want to say is all of these videos seem like propaganda versus just giving us some facts or ideas that we can discuss. So I hope that the people in this room will take the opportunity to write to your MLAs and to write to the people in the panel to say what you want to say, but we're unable to today. Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody take note. That was 45 seconds right on the nose. Go ahead.
The Quebec tax system actually charges 15% tax on every sale in the province. In Alberta, we only pay 5%, which is just GST. In the eventuality that we make a Alberta collection agency, how are going to make sure that we retain our we retain our competitiveness in regards to the tax system we're going to build in?
We've got kind of an expert up here on this, I think. Michael Binion can probably address some of this. Michael, can you handle that question and then a little more context? But don't take too much time or that lady's going to get mad at me, not you.
Okay, well, I'll just start off. First of all, my grandfather was born in Edmonton, and I went to university and I took finance and I became a tax accountant, and I always felt this ridiculous, why would you have 2 tax forms and why would you go to the extra trouble of it all? That's where I started. I've changed my mind before you clap too much. I will say I think that it's a great idea to have our own tax system here in our own tax forms with a 0 tax rate so you don't pay anything. I think that would be a solid answer to this problem, Premier. But I will say, just back to this idea of self-government, that I think the fact that Quebec can manage its own money, police itself, collect its own taxes, gives it a lot more political clout in the country than what Alberta has. And so I will finish that I did change my mind. I do think it's worth it for us to be able to demonstrate we can govern ourselves.
Thank you. Let's go over here.
Hi there, my name's Chad and I'm from Edmonton. My question is in regards to immigration, but it could be looped into tax in some ways. One of the reasons that we immigrate a lot of people to this country is due to the lack of people having kids and filling the labor market with what we need. A long-term solution would be ideally to have more kids to fulfill those positions, and anyways, is there any policies that could be implemented to encourage young families to have kids that either can't afford to have kids or that don't want to have kids currently but might be persuaded to have kids in the future?
I guess the most interesting one that I've seen is in Hungary, where, if I understand it, they allow for women, when they have 1 baby, they have a 20% discount on their personal income tax. When they have 2 babies, they get a 40% discount. When they have 5 babies, they don't pay income tax the rest of their lives. So I'd have to look and see if that has... I don't know that we could do that in an integrated system. I think that that's one of the other issues about why you might have some latitude if you change policy. But I'd have to take a closer look to see if it's had the impact that you said of increasing the birth rate.
You could always cancel your cable. Go ahead.
5 years is too long. The answer is yes. Alberta needs to be collecting all provincial personal income taxes rather than Ottawa. Let's speed this up and do it sooner rather than later. My suggestion to you, instead of founding a new organization known as the Alberta Revenue Agency, let's simply expand the tax and revenue administration. Let's make this happen as soon as possible. What do you think? Could it happen this fall?
I want to ask a guy who I always thought had rural common sense, like country gentleman. Glenn Van Dyken is going to handle that question.
He's my MLA. I'm Benita Peterson from Westlock.
That is fabulous. See, I didn't know that, but sometimes
So the question is if it could be implemented this fall. I don't see that as a possibility. But one thing I will say is that I agree with Michael on this point, where we have the ability to do it. We should be doing it, and it puts us in a much better position to be independent. I often look at independence within families as children growing up, moving from the home. They're independent. They support themselves, and I believe that a province should try and move more and more in that direction. So a lot of these policies that we're looking at tonight is mostly about pulling up our socks, doing what we need to do to be independent within the family of Canada. And I think all provinces should look to try and meet that bar. In largely, Alberta is here to unite the country around being able to actually everybody contributing.
Glenn, thank you. You know what? Look, if you haven't noticed by now, people up here disagree with one another. So, like, what we're seeing out here is A-OK. It's the province. Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, my name is Barbara Nichols, and I have a comment and I have a question. 30% of the oil and gas workers are international workers. Okay, those people that are 30% are some of them are very, very well qualified. They would actually be at the top of immigration. I'm working with people right now that have both a trade and they have a university degree. And my question is, Danielle, I guess what I'm asking is, what will it take this government, or does the government have that many restrictions that we have to go the step farther, for those people who want to be good citizens, who have the qualifications, are ready to come here into Alberta in the fall? What will it take for them to be able to come here and join our oil people?
I guess what we'd have to see, I think this is what the video was talking about, is if you look at Section 95 of the Constitution, it's a special section. It says that immigration and agriculture are concurrent powers. And it's really written in an interesting way, and maybe our judge would want to comment on this. It says that the provincial legislatures shall make laws on immigration and agriculture, and from time to time, the federal government will make laws. We've reversed it. We've allowed the federal government to take over complete control over both of those areas, and from time to time we make laws, and they don't always do it through a lens that makes sense for our province. So do we assert under Section 95 that we're just taking over the immigration system, issuing our own LMAOs, having our own work permits, and then just see if the federal government will take us to court to challenge us? That's one of the things that we would put at, that would potentially be at risk if we went unilaterally. But I don't know if the judge would have more to say about that.
Well, the way Section 95 is written is quite right. There's concurrent jurisdiction for immigration and agriculture. But unfortunately, the province's laws are as good only insofar as they're repugnant to an act of Parliament. So I think this is very much a section that should be open for you and the other premiers to try and get 7 other provinces on side and sort of force the hand with Ottawa. So I think you're doing a great job in talking to the other premiers. I'm sure, I would think most of them would want that. They'd want to have the final say of who comes into their province. So work on that.
Thank you, Judge. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Alan from Sherwood Park. I'm myself also a tax accountant. I've worked on it for over 25 years and still at it, so I totally agree in terms of having Alberta take control over the personal income taxes and the collection of it. We're going to have to learn to stand on our own 2 feet, and there's nothing wrong with taking more control. What's wrong with taking more control of our own futures for our own children in the future coming? Like these are important steps that we have to take. And then the broader issue that I want to kind of address is also for the people in this room, you have to ask where you're getting your information from. There was a comment about the misinformation about this. You really got to look at if you're still relying on the Carney Communist Broadcasting Corporation, you really have to ask yourself why. Why get that information from him? Thank you. From him, a central banker. He has absolutely no experience at this country and other countries.
Hey, thank you. Gotcha. Loud and clear. So you're not a fan of the CBC? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Jeremy. I'm from Edmonton. I'm an independent arborist. One thing that I think we could do to kind of slow down the immigration is maybe put restrictions on the foreign temporary worker program and maybe stop Ottawa from flooding us in, or even stop certain companies from overbidding on those contracts, because I have other friends that are in contracting or own construction companies, and they were approached by the federal government in different programs from them that were trying to get them to take in more foreign workers and even offering to subsidize their pay by 70%. So that kills our industry. And as an independent contractor myself, I've had to drop my prices by like 35% just this year in order to compete.
Brutal. Andrew Judson, is this something you guys have looked into?
Yeah, again, the technicalities of that program have been really challenging, and you can see where the merit intent runs afoul of practicalities in the field, yeah. And as we've heard earlier, there's pluses and minuses to all these policies. It's a challenging thing to balance out.
Okay, thank you. I got a mixed signal there, so I'm trying to just straighten that out. I hear voices. Some of them are over here. Melody, can I ask you a question? In terms of agriculture, does what we're talking about impact ag at all, and some of the federal policies we deal with, I think of fertilizer and things like that? Can you make a comment?
Yeah, for sure. And Tara already mentioned that our ag industry, we need workers. We're looking for skilled workers, so we do rely on immigration. Is there a balance that we need to strike? I absolutely believe that. And I'm actually going to take a bit of a different tact here, so you can, chastise me later. I'm a mom, much like many of you in this room. I moved to Alberta in '86 as a 9-year-old because my parents thought Alberta had a brighter future than Saskatchewan. I'm now a mom to a 20-year-old, and unless we make some significant changes, I do not believe that the future exists for them that existed for me here. They're unable to get work. Housing is unaffordable. There's all of these different factors at play. And I think it's really important that we hear from you, all Albertans, as to what the solutions can be for this. So I appreciate the comments on the temporary foreign workers. We do know that the ag industry relies on them. We know that there's federal policies around carbon pricing that are driving up the costs of affordability of groceries, everything like that. So I think this is really important that we all come together and we hear what you're saying to find some better solutions to give our youth back hope. Because right now, there's not a lot of hope for our youth.
Okay, on that note, let's open it up. Okay, any topic?
Bruce, do you mind if I get a straw poll on that one? Because no, I wouldn't mind, because I heard some comments earlier when somebody was saying, well, what about the cost in that video? That's why I wanted you to see the video, because you look at the cost, $750 million plus 5,000. But we've heard a lot of people at the mic saying that they think we should do this because that's what a grown-up province does. So can we just do a straw poll?
Go ahead. What's the question? You throw it out there.
Should Alberta collect its own provincial income taxes or continue to allow Ottawa to collect them for us?
So should we do it in Alberta? And the no's? Well, that's pretty clear. I'm glad you did that, because it didn't, that might not have been the sense from the decibel level. Okay, so opening it up for other questions on other subjects related to Alberta Next. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think with a lot of the proposals that have been brought up tonight, it
little closer to the mic.
Largely talks about Alberta taking on more responsibilities to delivering some very important services to the rest of the province. Alberta has the most talented and competent public service in the country. I think there's no better, the Albertans could not trust a group of public servants more than the Alberta Public Service to deliver any of these initiatives. So, Rob from Edmonton.
Right. Thanks, Rob. Hey, it kind of leads me into this. There's one panelist I haven't asked a question, and it's Adam Legg, which is ironic because he's the Business Council of Alberta, and he'd have a lot of perspective. So I guess I'll ask you this as we're going to hit these mics as many as we can. from the business perspective that you deal with and what you've heard tonight, what would you say are the key points?
Thanks, Bruce. I think it boils down to fairness and functionality in the Federation. My members, many of them are frustrated, like many of you are, over federal overreach and challenging policies. They've curtailed, I think, frankly, investment in this province and job creation in the province, but generating prosperity not only for Albertans, but for all Canadians. And it's not just from, you may think that's just from a natural resource sector, but I mean, Alberta is underfunded compared to other provinces in terms of federal university research funding, innovation support and incentives, regional economic development funding, loan program capacity, and much more. So, I mean, our organization echoes the Premier. We're for a strong Alberta in a united Canada. But, I mean, Canada is always a work in progress. And that we believe this initiative sends an important message to Ottawa that we haven't quite got that fairness and functionality right. And this sends a good message that we need to do some work on that. So I thank everyone for joining us tonight and giving us your comments.
Okay. Let's do it. Over here.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? My name's Don. I'm from Edmonton. I want to talk about something that, a bunch of things, but 45 seconds. The bond market is wobbling. We're in trouble. There's bigger problems going on right now, and I wanted to know that if you propose the Alberta pension plan, that you back it up with gold, the best performing asset in the last forever, and the last 2 years. As a matter of fact, I was wondering if maybe you could help establish Alberta, like a lot of the states are doing, and as a safe haven, and establish sound money or legislation legalizing gold and silver as legal currency.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to mention that I'm a pipeliner, 45 years, and I built a lot of pipelines around, and I'll tell you, I spent 5 years on the Coastal GasLink and the transgender pipeline, Trans Mountain pipeline. And I worked with a lot of trades guys, and you're talking about international immigration a lot. But I can tell you, if we go independent and we get the foot off of our throat for developing the resources,
thank you.
There'll be tradespeople. I hear from all the guys.
Got it.
They'll move to Alberta in a minute from all over Canada.
We hope to put you and your colleagues to work for sure. Do you want?
I just don't know. I mean, we have had disallowance in the past when a previous premier thought that they could create their own currency. That was in 1935, and that was one of the ways in which the federal government said you can't legislate in our area of jurisdiction. I don't know if declaring gold and silver legal currency would be within our purview. I think we could have some holdings within our Heritage Savings Trust Fund, which is now approaching $30 billion. That might be something that we could give some consideration to, but thanks for your thoughts on it.
Awesome. Okay, over here.
Hi, I'm Colette from Edmonton. My statement question is related to immigration partially, and also probably staff shortages in different industries and whatnot, related to foreign trained, like engineers and foreign trained doctors, foreign trained other, and the restrictions they have and the hoops that they have to go through before they're allowed to actually operate within Canada in general. It's not just Alberta. So I was wondering what the province can do to help alleviate that problem.
For sure. Premier or Minister Schultz?
Yeah, let me jump in. Sunita, who heads our Council on Multiculturalism, one of the things that they identified was that we have some unfairness in mandating Canadian work experience before you can work in Canada, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, as soon as you get 3 years of work experience, we'll hire you, but no one's going to hire you because you need 3 years of work experience. So Ontario got rid of that, and we're that was one of the recommendations of the council, is for us to get rid of that too. And so we're very close to working our way through the process. It has to go through cabinet, it has to go through caucus, and if we go through those hurdles, we'll be able to bring legislation forward in the fall.
It is a great question. Right. Exactly.
But Bruce, that's a credential recognition body. So that's the APEGAs and the doctors and the legal law societies. That's not the provincial government.
But one of the issues that the professional associations have is that they require 3 years of Canadian work experience. So that's one of the things we're going to say that professional associations can't do that anymore and create an unfair limitation.
You did address it. Okay.
Hi, I'm Debbie, and I'm a born and raised Albertan from rural Alberta. A couple of things. First of all, I think it's important that when you talk just about taxes, that capital gains tax change was taken out, and you know that. So it should be removed from this discussion because it's deceptive. Secondly, when it comes to immigration, I live in a beautiful street with just about all immigrants, and they're wonderful. So this isn't about people, it's about numbers. And the fact is, when I look at Alberta's growth strategies, you're still counting on a disproportionate number of people coming to Alberta for your growth strategies compared to the 11% of our population that we have in Canada. You're counting on 14 or 15% coming to Alberta. So please take a look at that. But lastly, I think this is a great opportunity to build Canada together. And every province and everybody wants to help work together. Let's not squander this opportunity. Let's take advantage of it, and let's not appear to be squandering it by the way we talk.
Thank you. Okay, I want to roll through as many as possible. I know it's tempted to jump in on everything, but unless there's a need, let's get to as many as we can.
Rachel Bass-Meldrum, original Ontarian resident who served 25 years in the Canadian Armed Forces. My mother, Helen Louise Bass-Meldrum, is in the front row in a wheelchair due to U of A hospital abuse in 2023. More recently, she was abruptly released from Edmonton General Rehab and is sleeping in a parked vehicle because she cannot manage the entrance stairs to my rental. Covenant Health was going to send her to Lethbridge. We have been attempting to relocate back to our home province, Ontario, where the rest of our family reside since 2023. At the time of my release. My comments are for the Honourable Danielle Smith. Canadians are highly overtaxed. How much, not just in Alberta, is being placed into an abusive healthcare system? I would like to present an email sent to your office late this afternoon, one of several sent to your office, the Minister of Health, as well as other ministerial offices and executives of Alberta Health Services, Covenant Health, who I learned from a good source, employs 3,000 executives whose salaries are between $500K and $1 million.
Can I ask
approximately
you to
$3 billion
leave me the
in
email
salaries
and we'll
alone?
have her answer. Promise. Leave me the email. We'll deal with the issue, and I'll let Premier respond. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're just in the process with Jason Nixon as the head of assisted living and social services of doing a warm handoff from when a patient needs to be discharged into a supportive living environment. We've got about 1,500 patients currently in acute care beds who need an alternative level of care. And so we're creating a new process to get them supported. I'm sorry that did not happen with your family member, but let's just make sure that Bruce can follow up with you so that we can see if we can bridge that gap.
Got it. Thank you. And thanks for sharing. I'm thinking that took some courage to come up here, so thank you. Let's go over here.
Hi there. My name is Erla. I'm from Sherwood Park. I'm an employee of Alberta Health Services. I've been a social worker for 30 years in healthcare. 2 years ago, I chose to attend one of the 13 town halls requesting healthcare workers' inputs to fix the healthcare system after a worldwide pandemic that threw an already struggling healthcare system into chaos. I sat at a table with the former CEO of Alberta Health Services. There were 10 recommendations presented, including staff recruitment and retention. Following those town halls, the whole board was fired and 4 new boards were created with 4 new agencies. I would like to better understand how these momentous changes to the system are saving money. The whole healthcare system is in turmoil, staff are leaving in droves, and patient care is suffering. Where is the proof that these colossal changes are more efficient? Why should your government be trusted to use public funds appropriately when the healthcare system is collapsing?
Thank you.
Appears to be way more costly and moving towards privatization.
Thank you.
I would say that I'll just let you know what we've seen with staff recruitment. We had 36,000 nurses a few years ago. We're now at 46,000 nurses. We were at 10,500 docs a few years ago. We've just surpassed 12,000 docs. We've got a new nurse practitioner model, which is the best in the country. Nurse practitioners can now set up their own practices, and over 60 have. We've got scope of practice that's broader than anywhere else in the country for our pharmacists. And we've already seen decreases in the number of the long-term waits for knee and hip replacements because we're using alternative service providers. So I would say that the reason we had to switch to having a focus on each of these different areas of care is that we need to have a focus on preventative and primary care so that everyone can get connected to a family doctor. That's one ministry. We need a focus on mental health and addiction so we can build 1,000 new beds, because that's a more appropriate place to care for somebody who has mental health or addiction needs. And we need to build out probably 12,000 beds by 2030 to support continuing care in our aging population. That needs a special focus. And we want our hospitals to be hospitals again. We want you to be able to go in, and if you've had an emergency need, that you get care right away and get admitted right away and get treated right away. And we want to be able to make them able to perform our surgical services so that we can clear all the backlogs. That was the reason for the changes. And now we've got all 4 organizations set up. And we're working the plan over the next year, and I hope that we'll be able to have more positive news to report.
Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. My name is Patty, and I'm from Edmonton, and thank you to Strathcona for letting me come here tonight, because we only have one of these in our city. So my question is more about process. So I appreciate Melody's comment that you're here to listen to solutions and what they can be. So I'd really like the panel to reconsider the survey questions, because they are very prescriptive and they don't allow for a diversive view. And so it makes it difficult even to put no comment. You can't even do that to proceed with some of the questions. Another piece is, please don't cherry pick your report. I hear a lot about Quebec. I don't hear a lot about their 9 to 10% provincial sales tax that they also have. And for those of you who have lived in this province long enough, you've been through the boom and bust long enough.
Thank you.
And just one more comment about Preston Manning's report, cherry picking. Yes. He quoted Sweden a lot in his report. However, he failed to mention Sweden actually had 2 to 3 times
you're like
the death.
20 seconds over already, so we got to go.
Yeah,
okay, I'm sorry. I get your point. You're not a fan.
Over here. Can I just let people know, we've had 31,925 total survey responses. We did hear last night that there was a survey updated that needed to have an other or none of the above. So we did add that to the pension question and the police question that came from results last night. And we've also had 12,666 comment sections filled out. So that's another option. If you have an idea that we haven't discussed or you haven't gotten to a mic tonight, that's another way for you to let us know.
All right, a couple more questions, and we're going to do a bit of a mingle. So let's go over here.
My name's Joe from Sherwood Park. Questions I have, it seems as though a lot of this is trying to gain sovereignty or independence from the federal government. I know that you have clawed back $200 from AISH. I know that you have declared a moratorium on social services. And I'm not commenting on positions there, but I know a definite position there. You make claims that you're against separatism. But what you've done is you've made it easier for a referendum to be had by a lesser number of people that normally would be done. And now you've also allowed money into campaigns, which I think is leading to some more corruption. You claim that you are also, pardon me, a question that I'll ask because I'm down now. If you are against separatism, why? And if Mr. Carney does not agree to your 1, 2, 3, or 9 points,
so
what are we left with? Separation.
I'm going to have to start cutting it off. Like I see what's happening, right? So like, make your point and ask your question, and you've done that. Okay, Premier, do you want to address that one?
Sure. I would just note that the first referendum question affirmed by the Chief Electoral Officer is one by Thomas Lukasik, asking if we should remain in Canada. So that the process of referendum is one that can be pursued by anyone, regardless of what their political stripe is. And in fact, the jurisdiction that has the most referendum questions is California. And they have a lower bar than we do for what the percentages are. You have to get 5 or 8%. So it has nothing to do with a particular issue. From my personal perspective, I want to get a pipeline to the northwest BC coast. I think a 1 million barrel a day pipeline would be good for our country, good for our province. It'd be generate about $20 billion a year in additional revenue. And so I think I would have better success with that, negotiating with British Columbia within the context of a united Canada. So that's the reason why I support Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada, because if I want a pipeline to the BC coast, I got to go through BC one way or the other. And I just think being at the same table with them makes some sense. And we've seen a lot of movement in the premiers in how we've approached the federal government. And I have some confidence that we'll have some success.
Okay. Let's try this one more time.
Good evening. My name is Ron. I'm from Edmonton, resident here for 47 years. My wife and I have raised our family here in Alberta, and we're proud to be Albertans and Canadians. I see a lot of these initiatives as being very divisive in nature, striving for independence. One of the very big elephants in the room that has not been discussed is that our Canadian culture, our Canadian way of life, our very sovereignty is under a very serious threat coming out of the United States right now. And
Ron, thank you very much. So this is interesting because, like, what we wanted to do was take away everything you had to say tonight. And it's a challenge to get to everybody and work in the panel. We've run out of the time to where we want to be able to mix and mingle with some of you. I'm going to turn it over to the Premier to make some comments before we wrap. But first, I just want to say, like, it started off and it was a little, I wasn't really sure, right? But I just want to thank you all for your conduct tonight. It's a difficult discussion, some of this. We don't agree on it all. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Premier, can I ask you to make some concluding comments, please?
Well, I see there's still quite a few at the mics, Bruce. Like, do you want to try to go? We went a little over last night. Do you want to try to get through as many as we can here?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Is that the will of the group here? I mean, should we take a few more questions or comments? Okay, but let's cut the line off. So can we get our staff up here let's cut the line off at some point so everybody knows. That wasn't an invitation for more of you to come to the mic. It was. So we're gonna have to cut it off. Probably about 5 on each side, I think, Danielle. Yeah, probably 5 more on each side. If people have repeated, I think. Yeah, we should get some voices that we haven't heard from. How about that? If you've spoken before, how about you let some of the folks who haven't, and then let's try to get through the lineup here. Why don't we go, Bruce?
Well, that's fair. I've been asking that a few times. If you've spoken, I think you probably made your piece. And the Premier's the boss, so I have to do what I'm told. Even though my other boss is texting me to wrap it up. So let's go over here. And again, try and make your comments in 45 seconds. And we still want to save some time for some conversation. Go ahead. Okay, let's go over here.
Thank you, Premier, for having this tonight. I'd also like to thank you for your opposition to Ottawa on its overreach, particularly on gun rights and your stance on firearm ownership. In regarding to the Alberta Firearms Act, and I'm going to also comment on bail for persons which were charged with firearms offenses. Between 90 and 95% of persons charged with firearms offenses have never even bothered to apply for a firearms license. Can we somehow use the Alberta Firearms Act or get the federal prosecutors on side so that these most dangerous offenders who never should have been in possession of firearms in the first place can have their bail not given prior to trial? this would at least keep them off of the
Sure.
streets for a short period of time.
We hear you. Okay, I'm going to hold everyone to 45 now, or we won't have any time.
Hi, am I on? Yeah, okay. Honorable Premier and respected members of the panel, this is a rambling thing and I'll try to be brief. How does this work actually? When you guys all part tonight, what is actually happening with you're all taking notes and you're doing this and you're going to about 12 to 20 meetings throughout the province.
Yep.
How is this working? How are you accumulating the data from this?
100%. We'll put it in the wrap comments. Premier, can you address it at the end? Can you address it at the end so we can just keep moving? Great question. Let's go over here. We're gonna address your question, sir. Promise. We'll do it in the end. Go ahead.
For all the topics presented at this panel, what, if any, safeguards are being considered with these aspirations to prevent them from becoming bloated cost overruns, ripped up, or turned against the public as governments change while remaining flexible to world events?
Okay. Do we take that or wait as well? We can certainly add it in. Okay, go ahead, sir.
No, what do you mean go ahead? I just
Yes, sir. The guy behind you is next, sir.
Hey, thank you.
Yes,
He asked me to take notes so that I could answer 5 questions all at once at the end, so that we can keep things rolling. I'll answer right at the end, sir.
Would you lend me your cane? Would you give me your cane?
Okay.
Moses,
I don't want anyone to leave here angry. We have 31,000 comments. We have a whole team led by Bill Buick who is going to be going through those. We are taking notes here. We're seeing what kind of temperature is in the room. That's why we're doing our straw polls. We're going to 10 different locations to see if issues get raised that are different than elsewhere. Last night, an issue around supply management was raised. Tonight, an issue around firearms was just raised. So we're seeing if there's anything that we're missing, and then we'll be able to have a report at the end with recommendations.
Okay. Thank you.
But you didn't ask me a question.
Okay. You're next, sir.
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow. So thank you for taking my... I'm a little bit younger than him, so my bedtime's a little bit later. I could probably ask a question here. Business owner from Strathcona County. I've had an issue for the past couple of years that we've seen legislation that was going to change, dealing with outfitting and dealing with outfitting of guiding of residents. Your government changed a regulation in May that has now banned or now made it very difficult for 150,000 Alberta residents to be able to hire someone to take them hunting. I believe that you've been dubbed. I believe that some of your ministers were told a story from A-Post, from Alberta Outfitters Association. That was not quite the whole story. I'm glad we have Mr. Gibbish here today. I brought this to his attention back a while ago.
Yep.
I brought this attention across the board, and we have had zero interaction or zero help.
Well, you will now.
The question I'm asking here today, I have 5 employees. There's over 40,000 people in Alberta that took advantage of a program that we offered that will not be able to take advantage of it starting September 1st,
Okay.
and we are looking for help.
Thank you.
What is the name of the program, sir, just so I can jot it down?
The program we had was guiding Alberta residents, taking Alberta residents hunting, and Part 4, Section 95, 305, and 306 of the Fish and Wildlife Act has now made it illegal for us to do this. So as of September 1st, there are 40,000 residents that have taken part in the past 5 years that no longer have the right to be able to do that. They're going to be asked to pay in excess of $1,500 American.
Gotcha.
We're now basically what we've done is
you'll hear from the ministry. We got to move on. Thank you. Go ahead. And I'm telling you right now, if you're in the lineup and you've been in the lineup 2 or 3 times, we're not doing it. Go ahead.
Would there be potential for citizenship to be revoked for immigrants under the Alberta Next? Or
Yeah,
if we
go ahead.
separate? I've already asked the question. Sorry, did you not hear me?
No, sorry, we couldn't hear you at all.
Oh, okay. Would there be potential for citizenship to be revoked for immigrants under Alberta Next, or if we separate from Canada?
No, I don't think it's not being contemplated. I don't, and citizenship is determined by the federal government, so that would be something for the federal government. We can nominate permanent residents, but citizenship is a federal jurisdiction.
Anyone over here we haven't heard from yet?
Hi, Scott Morton from Okotoks. This is for Premier Smith. I followed your, sorry, my glasses. I followed your recent comments regarding the goal to double Alberta's oil production with great interest. As someone who has worked in the sector for nearly 2 decades, including on innovation-driven extraction processes, I wanted to respectfully ask for more detail on this ambition. Currently, production sits at 4.2 million barrels. So I'm going to skip the rest of that.
Yeah.
Could you clarify what specific mechanisms or technologies are being considered to achieve this doubling?
Thank you. Got it. Thank you. No, we're good. We got it. Premier.
When I launched that about 2.5 years ago, I think our production was 3.5 million barrels. So that's what I was going on, is how can we get to 7 million barrels a day? You need egress. And so million barrel a day pipeline to Northwest BC coast. And there's at least 6 projects that could go south as well, which would be about 1.6 million barrels. And then you've heard that Doug Ford and I signed an MOU, and Wabkanu has also expressed interest in Churchill as well as James Bay. Call that another million barrels a day. And so when I look at the capacity of our oil sands companies, you'll see that they have the ability to expand 20, 30, 40,000 incremental barrels of, and we've got a number of those proposals that are being dusted off. So I think it'll be SAGD, and it'll certainly be more in the oil sands as well.
Thank you. Okay, how about right behind you? We'll go right there. Go ahead.
Thanks to the panel and Bruce for wrangling the lion's den. I hope the audience doesn't mind me saying this, but the late career and retiree demographic is heavily overrepresented here tonight, and the youth is pretty absent. Of the youth that are here, a lot of us have come up to speak and are highly engaged, so I'm encouraged by that, but I really want to impress that these projects you're talking about are not 5 or 10 years, they're 20 or 30 years. You're going to need another generation to come in and push them forward, so please keep the youth engaged.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Mikhail Schmidtke. I'm from Lethbridge, Alberta, and I'm a recent electrical engineering graduate. And with that said, a lot of my peers are interested in technology, and they leave this province because of perceived lack of actual engagement from the government or from companies in the tech sector here. And I know there is, of course, recent pushes in AI and data centers, which Alberta has a great landscape for becoming big leads in. So I'm just curious on if more interest and engagement will be given by this government, and if so, in what way?
Well, I can tell you, I've got my technology minister right up here, and hopefully you'll be able to corral him afterwards. He gave me some talking points at a recent tech conference I went to. I think we're up to 160,000 workers in the tech space in Alberta. And when you consider that we've got about 200,000 workers in oil and gas direct jobs, I think we're doing pretty well in expanding out that industry. When we first came in, we were attracting $34 million a year in venture capital. We're now up to $700 million a year being attracted in venture capital. We've got multiple unicorns, if I'm using the right term, and we've got 17,000 megawatts of requests in for data centers. And that is just for the hardware side of it. Once you start thinking about the use cases, at the Turing, the Turing Award was just given to our AI genius at the University of Alberta, which is attracting, I think, more researchers here as well. So I feel pretty good about where we're at, but if we can always do more. And by all means, talk to our minister afterwards if you have some ideas.
Okay, so do you know, in Halloween, sometimes the kids at least change costumes so you can't tell they're back, eh? No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I noticed there's a lot of people here in the audience that seem to be pro-separation. And I think that all the questions in this panel are geared to appease that group of people. Okay. And as an Albertan,
that's good.
I still have a few seconds. I just wanted to let you know that I grew up in Quebec. I moved here as a teen. Yes. I moved here as a teen, and I saw what separation talk did to.
I guess the other thing I'd say
all
is
the
if
big
it's a new point,
corporations that moved to Toronto.
It isn't. We're
going to lose
go over here,
companies.
please, for one more question.
There are national, certainly, and international standards for data collection and public engagement, and certainly survey design, which the survey put out, honestly, by this panel, this group is very much not meeting. So my question would be, how will the panel distinguish genuine feedback from data that may be distorted by the survey's design?
Okay, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for coming to the microphones. Premier, if I could I ask you now to make a few closing comments?
I certainly would love to do that. I guess part of it is that we want to see what kind of issues come up. We know that the reason why we're creating an open process for people to just be able to tell us what's on their mind is that will capture anything that we haven't identified. We identified these issues because we kept hearing about them in various consultations we had, at various town halls that we had, and so we thought that at least providing some context, and I thought the video company that we used was giving both sides of every issue. I'm sorry if you didn't feel that way, but we were trying to make sure that people understood the pros and cons of all of those issues that have been raised. But my view has been that Albertans always have the best ideas. As I mentioned to you before, 25 great ideas came out of the last exercise that we went through. I am sure we're going to get 25 great ideas that come out of this. In the last Fair Deal panel, there were 23 recommendations that were accepted, 2 that were not. So there is also a bit of a lens of whether or not something is possible to do. I don't want to prejudge the outcome, but I think we had a process that we used last time that served our province pretty well. And I thank you so much for the respectful and robust debate tonight. I think that the difference of opinion just shows that this is important to everyone. And so I thank you for participating.
Thank you. If we missed anybody, please come and talk to us. We'll mingle. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. And yeah, this has been a blast. Thank you.
The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena.
So we can.
Now I know where I'm supposed to. Yeah, I assume that. No one kicked me out.
Are we short chairs?
Are we? We go like this.
We won't be.
Bruce and I'll do a co-MC.
You can be my co-MC.
Yeah, well, Hamanega.
All right, who wants to volunteer their chair? We might be a couple of short up here. I'm kidding, it looks good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second Alberta Next Town Hall. My name is Bruce McAllister. I'm going to help do my best to moderate tonight and steer the conversation. As you see, we have the Premier here. We'll hear from the Premier shortly. We have an amazing panel here tonight, folks, and we've assembled some really cool people. They're giving their time, sharing their passion. They'll share some of their stories, but mostly we want to hear from you tonight. Firstly, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming. I wish we could have had a bigger venue. I think we were going to do it in Sherwood Park, and then we moved it. And anyway, nice to see so many of you here tonight. Remind you all, the panel is here to listen to you. We want to take what you have to say away. So many diverse perspectives among Albertans, even up here on the panel. There are people that are probably polar opposites on issues. But let's acknowledge, just before we get going, the last decade has been a tough one for Alberta when it comes to dealing with Ottawa. And it's funny, we brought that up last night, and a gentleman reminded us. He came to the mic and he said, Bruce, it's not just been the last decade. It's been like this for a long time. And many of you remember the National Energy Program and all those things. So we're gonna address all of that tonight, ask for your opinion on all of those things tonight, some of the policies that are in place that hold us back right now in the province. And we're going to do our best to hear your concerns and comments. I'll explain later how the timing works and how you're going to be able to say your what you'd like to say. But just know, if you don't have a question and you just want to make a comment, that's okay too. So we're going to take those away as well. So we ask everyone to be respectful of one another, even if we might not always agree with each other. We can disagree. Let's just be respectful here tonight. So let me introduce you to our fine panel members, if I could. They are, like you, regular Albertans. Like you, they care very much for their province. There are a few elected members, but most from the private sector, and just Albertans giving back. So if you could join me in saying hello to our panel members. We're going to start with the Premier. Everybody knows Premier Danielle Smith on the panel. The Minister of Environment and Protected Areas, Rebecca Schultz, is with us tonight. I'll ask you all to stand and give a quick wave. Andrew Judson. Andrew brings 30 years in capital markets and private equity. He's vice chair of the Fraser Institute in the Prairies. Brandon Lunty, the MLA for Leduc-Beaumont. Dr. Trevor Toom from the University of Calgary, an economics professor.